Good evening, everyone. The City of Southfield regular meeting agenda of the City Council will come to order for April 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Mr. Clerk, if you can please take roll call.
Good evening. Councilwoman Banks.
Present.
Councilwoman Bland.
Here.
Councilman Brightwell.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Present.
Councilwoman Pro Tem Hogue. Councilman Mandelbaum.
Present.
Council President Hicks.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Presentations. We'll have a presentation of award for Oakland County Transit Access to Transit Grant for the 9-mile mid-block safety crossing.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to welcome Lindsay Wallace, Principal Transit Planner with Oakland County Transit, and she'll introduce our commissioners. Lindsay.
Good evening, commissioners, or council, sorry. My name is Lindsay Wallace, and I am the principal planner in the transit division at Oakland County. I am also the program manager for the Access to Transit program. The Access to Transit program provides funding to municipalities to design, implement projects that make it safer, easier, and more comfortable to get to the transit services in your community. We fund projects that address the first and last mile problems, such as accessibility, pedestrian and bike infrastructure, distance and time barriers, and safety concerns. Just a little program timeline. We had a call for projects fall of 2025. In the winter of 2026, we selected the projects, and right now we are in the middle of executing the agreements and starting to work. The next steps will be the community will submit status reports, and we'll work to get a Oakland Transit plaque at the site of the project. The City of Southfield was one of 5 projects selected this year, and we will be funding the total project costs to construct a mid-block crossing on 9-mile between Providence Drive and Foster Winter Drive. $420,000 is the total project cost. Today we have Commissioners Smith Charles, Taylor, and Woodward to present a check to the council.
Thank you.
Can I say something real quick? Yeah. If I could just add, Oakland Transit, so all you know, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart as someone who led the countywide transit millage. Many of you were very helpful in that campaign. The resources to help fund this as a result of that millage. And so, Mr. President, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and Mayor, this program is designed to figure out how to really bridge those last mile barriers for best usage. And we're going to be doing more of it, but it's only possible because Southfield showed up strong to say, not only do we support transit, but we support a countywide approach to transit so that people can get where they need to go. And in addition to this, new routes from Southfield to Novi to Wixom and beyond, that where people can get to work centers and back and forth that never existed before because of the old opt-out system that no longer is in place, because all of Oakland County is part of Oakland Transit, and we got an incredible team, as many of you have seen here, that's developing programs like this so that we can build out the infrastructure to make transit better. So I just want to say thank you, and I couldn't do it without my colleagues, Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Smith-Charles, who are on the front line every day looking at ways to make transit better here in Southfield and beyond.
Council, do you want to stand for the picture? Or? Terry, you don't want to Planner Crow, you don't want to be in the picture? Planner Crowe. Terry. Get in the picture, man.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is off. It should be move over to the right, and if you're gonna have 6 people, yeah. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Appreciate you. On behalf of the city, we thank you all for thinking of us and bringing forth this grant. We truly appreciate it. Council, did you have anything to add to that? Thank you all. Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, your presentation?
Good evening, council.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Southfield residents, and good evening, televised audience. My name is Gabby Grossbard. I am the Southfield City Clerk. Tonight's presentation is about the upcoming election in 2026. The Clerk Department has been working to put together the plans, and I'd like to present this to you so everybody can see and know exactly what to expect in the upcoming election. We have improved various things, and I'd like to share all of that with you tonight. While the Clerk Department staff was working on the election arrangements and plans, we kept various things in mind. Elections are an important part of our democracy. They must be secure, they must be accurate, and they must be transparent. There's got to be accessibility for all voters. The more accessible it is, the more there's participation. Clear communication improves efficiency and it reduces confusion, and voter confidence is essential to election integrity. With all that in mind, we went ahead and proceeded with our plans. I would like to call up for a minute Southfield Election Specialist Darian Bird to discuss the voters and the numbers of voters here in Southfield.
Good evening, everyone. So our office is responsible for administering elections for approximately 64,500 registered voters, and that's across 36 different precincts. So this requires coordinated staffing, logistics, and ballot processing, which includes a few different methods of voting now. We have absentee voting, we have early voting, and then we also have election day. So we have also about 19,500 voters that are on the permanent ballot list, and then just over 9,000 voters on the permanent application list. So the growing numbers on those permanent lists continue to shape how we plan and how we operate.
The previous election that is most similar to the one in 26 was in 2022, where we had a governor, the top officials of the state on the ballot. There's one U.S. senator, the entire Michigan Senate, the entire Michigan House. The numbers back then, there was no early voting back in 2022. And there was certainly mail-in ballots, as we can see from the numbers. Every year in comparison, voters' ballots returned have increased. So 25 had more ballots returned than the previous similar year, which was 23. So every year, so we're expecting the trend to increase and grow. We have worked and we expanded the secure ballot drop boxes. Currently in Southfield, there are right here at the municipal building And we have on two corners of the city, in the southwest corner by the fire station, by Fire Station 1, at the fire station, and up at the Oakland County Health Department on Greenfield, on the upper east corner of our city has. We have worked with the state. We're eligible for a state reimbursement of $11,025, so we got 4 drop boxes, not costing the Southfield taxpayers any extra or coming out of our budget. It's all part of grant money that is specifically there for it. We believe that if drop boxes are more accessible, there will be more ballots returned. Here's a map of where the new boxes are, or all the boxes are going to be. So the 3 circles in the middle are right here at City Hall, where we have 3 boxes. There's one by the library, one out here in the circle on the west side, and one on the south side of the building outside of Code Enforcement Building. Then on the bottom left corner, that is Fire Station, and up on, like we mentioned, the Oakland County Health Department. We added the other 2 corners of the city, the upper on the northwest corner at the fire station over there, and at the that one is on 12 Mile. And then we added a drop box on 9 Mile at the fire station. Those haven't been installed yet, but they will be installed before absentee ballots get mailed out in July. On to discussing vote precincts. So we did not change any districts, any polling, any numbers. All the maps have stayed exactly the same. What changed and adjusted was actual locations. This is due to some of the schools no longer being open or being shut down for construction or various things like that. There were 3 rules that we set and followed when we established voting locations. Number 1, any precinct that had a traditional location where those residents are used to going, they're going to go back to there. We're not going to move them, or if we can bring them back to that location, we did that. Second one is we did not want to split August and November. We wanted them to be in the same location. We didn't want residents to go to one place in August, one place in November. So, for example, certain schools that are under construction in the summer and not available, but are available in November, we did not use that location. The third rule that we followed is we did not want to have more than 2 precincts in any one location. In previous years, especially in the smaller locations, they condensed them because that we're expecting such a huge turnout. We did not want more than 2 precincts per locations, and we primarily achieved that with the exception of here in the pavilion. We're going to have 4 because we temporarily need to move 2 precincts. We'll get to that in a minute. But in general, we've accomplished all the rules and goals that we set ourselves as guidelines. I'm going to switch to the next slide simply because that there are a bunch of new locations, and instead of talking about it while we're looking on the map, I want you to see Precinct 1 and 6 are moving to Graceway Bible Church. They used to be at Birney. Birney is not available for us for voting this year. Precinct 2 and 3 used to be at McIntyre, which is not available for voting. They're going to be at Our Lady of Albanians, which is on 12 Mile, north of 12 Mile on Lasher. Vandenberg is the one location that's going back to where they traditionally used to be. They were closed in the past. They're open again. We're there. St. David Episcopal is up on 12 Mile, just west of Greenfield. They're going to be a new permanent location. Precinct 13 and 14, that's usually at Thompson. Thompson is under construction in August, and therefore we brought them here to City Hall for both August and November. Oakland College, down on 9 Mile, was nice enough to give us, allow us to put a precinct location in there. They gave us a room that's right off the parking lot. You come right in on the main floor. They actually gave us 2 rooms side by side with some space in front of it, so there could be a desk right there, and then depends on your precinct, we could right away send you to there. And Eisenhower Elementary is going to be a new precinct location. All these, we're referring to it as returning 2026 locations. These are all places that are where they used to be. So these are all the traditional voting locations that are going to continue for those exact same precincts that they have been at before. To notify the residents, we have chosen to go, there are samples. Did you get the sample postcards in front of you? Looks like you did. So we're choosing, I'm going to call Darian up to talk about why we designed this postcard this way.
So if you're a resident and you saw your precinct on that list, we don't expect you to remember that from now until the election. So to address location changes, we're sending targeted postcards directly to affected voters. And so you'll see in your example here for this precinct, you can't miss it. It's got a nice Google Maps screenshot of where you need to go. We believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's better than a letter where you got to decipher where you're going. And so clear communication like this helps ensure a smoother experience for both the voter and also the staff. Also, the last thing I'll say is with this postcard, everyone's going to get their own. So obviously everyone won't get the Graceway Bible Church one. So depending on where you live, that is the postcard you will receive. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, only if your precinct is changing, you're going to get a postcard if you're a resident. If you are voting in a precinct that has been there last year and is there again this year, you will not get a postcard notifying you of the change. We are also working on, there's another sample in front of you, Council. This is a trifold informational. This is not finalized in any way. This is a bunch of the information that we do want to have on it. We want to mail out one to each household in Southfield with informations and instructions, QR codes, where to register, where to vote, how to get the map. The early voting is not just a list of dates. We came up with, we decided to put on there like a calendar, so it's really a lot easier to tell which days early voting is available and which one is not. Early voting will be in room 115 once again this year. The clerk department has partnered with the Secretary of State mobile office on May 13th and 14th, where we're going to be going with them to the 2 high schools that Southfield has, University High and Tech. And this, though they are a full-service Secretary of State, but the primary reason is to encourage seniors to register to vote if they aren't registered to vote already. We're also going to bring with us the application to be an inspector on election day at a polling location. We'd like to encourage and include and get the youth involved. We are working with Lawrence Tech, not to get them to register, they're a bit older, but to get them to apply and to work on election day at polling locations. Speaking of the application, we did revamp that. It is on the website. It is a fillable right on the website. It could get, the applicant could fill it up. There's several forms that, everything that they need to fill out, and then it gets sent directly to us. It's much more streamlined, it's much more efficient, and we're looking forward to seeing how much better it works. In conclusion, our goals at this clerk department is to run secure, accessible, and transparent elections. Thank you.
Council, any questions for the clerk? Mr. Mayor.
I really appreciate the work you put into this, especially when you're moving precincts. You can't give people enough notice in advance. A number of the closures are beyond, obviously, the clerk's office control when buildings are being renovated or no longer available. So thank you for this presentation. Very clear, and we know we're going to have a big turnout this year due to the political climate and the number of races that will be on the ballot.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Ms. Bradwell.
Mr. Clerk, I want to really thank you for this. This is a broad spectrum of transparency, and every year, every time there's a voting, since I've been on council, there's always been some type of word back from the general public that certain messages did not get to them. So this is a part of the transparency that is being broadcast, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you for being proactive with this.
Sure thing, sir, and this is a good time for me to mention, we took the time to meet with previous year precinct chairs to get their feedback on what's needed and where to be. We met with various bipartisan groups in order to get their feedback and what to incorporate into this. And I certainly want to thank the clerk department staff and people here in this building who have been very helpful with securing several of these location changes.
Councilwoman Banks?
Yes, I'd like to reiterate what my colleagues said. I think this is a great job. Whoever designed this, I like the colors. It's simple, it's easy to read, and I'm so glad that the election guide is being sent out again to all the voters in all the elections. This is really important, and I can't tell you how many years, people had guides in their hand, whether it was a ballot or again, it's just information to let everyone know, especially with early voting dates. It's just really important. There should be no confusion this year. Thank you. Good job.
Councilwoman Haynes?
Just want to say thank you as well. It looks really nice and well put together. And also, thank you to Mr. Darian Bird for also being included with this and having your staff be a part of it. Makes a big difference to be inclusive with that and to have the whole team on board. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, thanks. And I will mention regarding the trifold specifically, it's not set in stone, so if you have any feedback, any info, we've all been candidates, if there's any information that should be included here, please feel free to let me know and we'll work with you. We'll work on adding it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We now have two joint resolutions by the mayor.
We have, I'll just preempt this by saying that in my career as a school administrator as well as councilman and mayor, every once in a while the state legislature does things that really impede the ability of local government or local school boards to do what they need to do. I'm sure individuals think that these are well-intentioned, but we have an example tonight. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we've discussed this as council and mayor and administration for quite some time. But there are a series of bills that are in the legislature right now, and those bills are Michigan House Bills 5529 to 5532 and 5581 to 5585. And so we have a resolution tonight that I'm going to ask you, after I present it, you to approve. That we will send to our lobbyists as well as to our elected representatives in the Michigan legislature. So whereas House Bills 5529 to 5532 and 5581 to 85 to amend the State Land Division Act and the State Zoning Enabling Act have been introduced by the Michigan House of Representatives. And whereas the purpose of these bills is to preempt local governments from exercising their traditional authority to plan and zone for residential land uses within their communities. Among other things, the proposed changes impose on every community in the state the maximum lot size of a single-family residential district. Whereas, if enacted into law, the bills, and this is just some of the things, would allow, without any review by local government, construction of a secondary or accessory home to be built on the land of an existing home or built on an existing lot that already has one house on it. It would also allow a secondary house to be placed within 5 feet of a neighbor's rear yard or property line. It would allow the second or accessory home to be built off-site and transported to the existing home site like a mobile home. It would preclude a community from having or enforcing a minimum home square footage requirements of over 500 square feet. And it would significantly limit, if not prohibit, communities from having an architectural or facade material requirements for single-family homes, given the universal mobile home authorization. And whereas, if enacted into law, the bills would also drastically change the process under which local communities review plans for new development and new buildings that meet ordinance requirements. Whereas these limitations will result in communities either being denied the opportunity to appropriately assure compliance with development requirements of all developments. And whereas the local communities, through local governments, are best situated to, 1, assess infrastructure capabilities such as drinkable water and sanitary sewer, 2, designate adequate storm water management systems to accommodate any development to avoid flooding, 3, evaluate whether a local government can provide adequate police, fire, and emergency first responder protection, as well as things like public schools. And whereas the bills as written not only are dismissive of the role of local governments in protecting residents through careful, transparent land use regulations at the community level. So now therefore be resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Southfield opposes passage of House Bills 5529 to 32 and 5581 to 85 on the basis that local municipalities are best situated to enact detailed zoning regulations to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of their residents. So with that, I'm asking for adoption if you are so inclined.
The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve and adopt the mayor and council joint resolution in opposition of Michigan House Bill 5529 through 5532 and 5581 through 5585.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue and supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right. So we're not just against something, we also have an alternative. So the next resolution that I'm asking council to support are House Bills 5660 and 5661. And whereas the bills just mentioned would amend MSHDA law, the current MSHDA law, Michigan Housing Development Authority, have introduced in the State House of Representatives. The bills have been developed by the Michigan Municipal League, which is an organization that we partner with, and would, if enacted into law, encourage and incentivize various zoning reforms designed to encourage the creation of new housing opportunities throughout the state that would align with local community priorities and master plans, very importantly. Whereas, more specifically, the proposed Michigan Home Program, and there's a brochure at your seat, would support investment to accelerate housing construction and rehabilitation while promoting updates to local zoning regulations that will help cultivate thriving communities and stimulate an economic vitality without usurping local authority. Whereas the enactment of the Michigan Home Program could result in an estimated 10,000 new or rehabilitated homes in the state of Michigan if widely utilized and implemented by local governments. And whereas an incentive-based housing policy such as the Michigan Home Program is consistent with longstanding Michigan land use statutes and supporting case law, which has traditionally delegated local zoning authority to cities, villages, and townships, with the understanding that local communities best determine their own orderly development plans and corresponding zoning regulations. And whereas the bills are currently supported by a broad coalition, including local elected and municipal officials, as well as real estate developers and builders. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Southfield supports passage of House Bills 5660 and 5661, which seek to reward and incentivize communities to adopt certain housing and best practice programs. And so it goes. I'm asking for adoption of this.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve and adopt joint resolution in support of Michigan House Bills 5660 and 5661.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue and supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right.
We now transition into appointments, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have one comment.
Yes, I just wanted to speak a few minutes on the housing program and the housing bill.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. One of the opportunities that I'm allowed in this position is to be able to attend conferences. And at the Michigan Municipal League Conference and SIMCOG, Southeast Michigan Council of Government, this issue came up. And when it came up, we had a special emphasis on Southfield. We have representatives in our area that support different things, and this is why it's important that we know where they stand on these issues. This is very, very important. There are a lot of numbers and a lot of things that the mayor said, but I want you to pay attention to what is happening. I have a picture here, and it's I didn't get it in time enough to send it to Planner Crowe, but I want you all to see what could happen in Michigan. This is what could happen if you own a $300,000 house and the land next to you is vacant. This is what it could look like right next to your land. Or if this house burns down, this is what it could look like. And this is not a joke. This is serious. And I think this is worthy of protesting. And I think homeowners association, neighborhood organizations, you need to speak out against this, especially people that are running for office. And we know sometimes these bills get in committee and people go to sleep and they vote. And this is how we miss out. We cannot allow this to happen in Southfield. I remember on my property alone, they wanted to build 22 houses just on my property alone. We fought against that a long time ago. I could easily take this bill right here and do that myself and have no problem. That would be an issue here. That would mess up our infrastructure. So we really need you all to get on board with this. If you go to the State House and talk to your state representative, have coffee hours with them and understand what's happening here and let them know you are against this. We do not want this in Southfield. This is worthy of protesting. I have more information if you're interested in having a copy of the Michigan Home Program. This is very, very important that you pass this on. You don't want this in our neighborhood. Trust me, we have enough of group homes. We have enough of these rental homes. All of this could happen here. So please take some action against this as residents in the city of Southfield. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, and you point out something that's very, very valuable, or we should be aware of. In Southfield, we have many sort of average residential lots, but we also have acre lots, 2-acre, 5-acre parcels, that if we were stripped of our zoning ability, someone could come in and just cover the whole acreage I think it's 5 feet from the property line.
Yes, 5
So this is, I think it's very ill-conceived, and it's really not just about Southfield. Obviously, there are lots of communities,
Right.
or all the communities would be affected by that.
There are many communities on board with this.
And I also think it's an affront to the job that all of you have as council persons. This is one of the things that, one of your purposes is to review zoning and site plans.
And Mr. President, may I add too, it would take away control from our zoning and our planning. That means, what are they here for? You know, that would take control from them. We need them to do this job. This is why they're here. In addition to that, please go on social media and look up SIMCOG. There are mayors speaking out against this all across the state. And you can get that information and find out more about it on SIMCOG's website and Michigan Municipal League. Please make yourself aware of this and fight against it for Southfield. It's called Partnership Over Preemption. This is what Michigan Municipal League is doing. They're joining together. They came up with a better plan for our city, and this is what we're supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
could I just make a couple of comments?
Yes, please.
So just to reiterate on it, what everyone's saying, I think we're all in favor of more affordable housing. And we're working on the missing middle housing, attached townhomes, the mixed-use quarter district and so forth. But what this bill is proposing is a 500-square-foot house by right. It's barely bigger than a two-car garage. They can be built 15 feet from the front yard, 5 feet from the side yard, and on a 1,500-foot large lot, which is, on some of our acres, 22 of these units could be built. Or you could have our standard setbacks 30 or 40 feet from the road. So someone could put the equivalent of a two-car garage in your front yard. And it's just too extreme. And one size does not fit all.
It doesn't.
So that's why we're all opposed to this. And I can go in further with a presentation and a PowerPoint. But those are the basic parameters of what they're trying to force all communities to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, appointments.
Okay, so this evening on the agenda, I have the reappointment to the Art Commission of Jeffrey Ligon. Mr. Ligon is not available to be here this evening. He is working. I also have, we have a vacancy on the board. Harvey Goldstein, who is an original member, a former art educator, has stepped down after, I think, 12 years on the Art Commission. And so with that vacancy, I have a new resident who's come forward and like to serve, so I'm asking for the approval of the appointment of Devin Hampton. Mr. Hampton is here this evening. I'd ask him to come forward. So I'm asking for the council to approve the appointment of Devin Hampton to the Art Commission.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the reappointment to the Public Arts Commission, Mr. Jeffrey Lagon, and the appointment to the same commission, Mr. Devin Hampton.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hoag and supported by Councilman Mandelbaum. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk Grossbard will do the swearing in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the City Charter of the City of Southfield, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the Office of Southfield Public Arts Commission in and for the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, the State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
Mr. Hampton, once you complete, if you don't mind coming up so we can congratulate you. Okay, we now will transition into communications. The City of Southfield City Council has established the following rules and procedures for all speakers. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council. Each speaker is responsible for his or her comments, and the City of Southfield does not, by permitting such remarks, support, endorse, or accept the content thereof as being true or accurate. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated in the manner in which they perform their duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language towards any individual when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly. If a person addressing the council refuses when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. The council may not provide responses to public comment during the meeting. If you have provided your contact information when you signed up for public communications, the city will provide a more formal response to you in the near future should it be needed. The council may respond to comments at the end of communication if they are able to do so. Nicole Massey. Nicole Massey. Scott Riley. If you please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and if you're a Southfield resident or not.
I'm Scott Riley. I am a Southfield resident. I'm going to speak to you about the referendum that is going to be potentially on the ballot this fall. I call this ballot the Keep the Non-Privileged People from Voting initiative. It's a trap. It is a trap with the bait that says that they're trying to ensure only citizens vote, and that we all know that that's not really a problem. It is, if someone is a non-citizen and tries to vote, they're guilty of 2 felonies. They're risking 9 years in prison. Very few people willing to risk that. But the trap also enforces that everyone needs to prove that they are a citizen. Everyone in the state would, if this passes. And that's done primarily with birth certificates and passports. So I'm going to speak to that for a second. The latest U.S. Census Bureau estimate for Southfield is that we have a 41,000 per capita income. Only 20% of Americans earning $50,000 a year or less have a passport. 12% of the people in Southfield's economic strata do not have a birth certificate, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center, that they can access easily. So that makes it much harder for a sizable portion of Southfield's residents to get past this. So who financed this effort to try and deny Southfield votes? I followed the money. According to Ballotpedia, the signature collection effort was coordinated by a group called Americans for Citizen Voting. Bridge News reports that the American for Citizen Voting is primarily financed by Restoration of America. Restoration of America, FCC reports, is financed by one man. He's worth $6 billion. He's the CEO of Uline Packaging. So one man from Illinois is the primary force who is trying to change our Constitution to make it harder in a swing state for Southfield to vote. So I'm asking, as a Southfield resident, that the council stand with other cities that are presently being asked to do this and take a position publicly to oppose this anti-voting ballot initiative.
Thank you, sir. If we can please refrain from clapping or having response during the communications, please. Diane Martin, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and whether you're a Southfield resident.
Good evening. Diane Martin, and I have been a resident of Southfield since...
Excuse me, ma'am, if you can speak into the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay. I've been a resident of Southfield for 39, 40, probably closer to 41 years. And I've raised my children here, and I've attended churches, social events, et cetera, but very quietly. My concern right now is that in my residential area for at least 3 years, there's been quite a bit of trafficking of cars in and out of a particular residential area. There's been some inquiry in terms of what are the rules concerning cars being parked in the driveway. People appear to be working in those cars, and also having other people to be there to participate. There's been some inquiry and follow-up with the code enforcement, as well as the community police officer or office, especially during the weekend. I guess my real concern is that if there could be some problem solving or some type of shared safety and responsibility among the residents or the residents in that area, and that there is clear support and backup from the code enforcement and community police that I've used or we've used. And I'm sort of confused because recently I got a written communication, and you couldn't respond back to the code enforcement office. It just had a number. And so when you tried to pull up what had been typed and sent, and then to forward a comment to it, you couldn't do that. It's just like,
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes your time, but if you can please step into the hallway. Mr. Woodard, can you talk to this constituent to see if you can help her with her concern? Okay. Mr. Cameron Fink? If you can come to the podium, state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident. Sure.
And I have a document for the city councilors. Who do I give that to? Okay. Hello. Oh, my time started already? My name is Cameron Fink. I'm a resident of Southfield. This is my daughter, Devorah Fink. She is also a resident of Southfield. We had the opportunity to visit the Lathrop Village City Council recently, and after meeting with us and discussing the OPLA, the Lawyers for ICE office operating in Southfield, they immediately sent a letter to Redico asking for a public meeting to discuss the concerns and fears that our citizens have. Every day we receive emails from Southfield residents, us, a community group just founded a couple months ago, about what they're afraid of, what's happening, why don't they know, why isn't the city being clear about what's happening, why won't Redico tell the truth? We call Redico. They ignore our calls, they ignore our emails, and they mislead the public. If I had the opportunity to be in a room with the CEO and vice presidents of Redico, I would have some questions for them. Who is the tenant agency of the lease signed January 2026 between Redico and GSA? Why did Redico feel the need to include a provision in the lease prohibiting the presence of detainees? Is there a reason to believe ICE would use an OPLA office to detain people if that provision were not included? What is the purpose of the provision in the lease prohibiting uniformed agents of the tenant agency on the premises? What do you think uniformed agents of the tenant agency would do in that office if they were allowed to be there? Does OPLA, the Lawyers for ICE, have its own uniform agents, or does this section of the lease refer to ICE agents? The lease language they've shared does not appear to prohibit plainclothes ICE agents from visiting or working in the office. Is that correct? Are employees of the tenant agency or their guests permitted to carry firearms in the building? Is there a safety plan for immigrants who work in the building? Has the OPLA office had a written agreement related to this new office space, and if so, can we see it? Why is signage and entry into the building directory not permitted? Why is it a secret government office operating in Southfield with impunity? Is the tenant agency currently associated with law enforcement activities in any way? What penalties would they face for terminating the lease at this time? What exactly is Redico doing to monitor OPLA's activities and ensure their occupancy is in compliance with the lease? When they allowed me to visit them, I reviewed the contract and they showed me that there are provisions included to prohibit ICE from operating there. How are they monitoring that? How do we know? Can we trust Redico when they ignore our calls, ignore our emails, and ignore the residents while lying to us? And finally, what is the enforcement mechanism for determining GSA's compliance with the lease provisions? I don't want to be here every week. I'd rather be at home having nice time with my family. I'm scared and I'm tired. But we call Redico every day. We email them every day. We reach out to you. We reach out to the mayor. And no one will give us real answers. Redico needs to host a town hall to tell the residents of Southfield what is going on and stop lying to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I ask again, please refrain from clapping or we will suspend communications. Suspend communications. Leah Lehman, please state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident. I apologize.
Ann Lehman. I am not a resident of Southfield. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I stand before you today with a simple but urgent request for transparency, accountability, and a voice for the community you serve. We are asking all members of the Southfield City Hall to pressure Redico to hold a public town hall meeting regarding the proposed lease to OPLA, the legal arm representing ICE. This is not a routine business decision. It carries profound consequences for the people who live, work, and raise families in the city. Across our community, there is real fear and uncertainty. Residents are asking, what does this mean for our neighbors, for our sense of safety, for the values we claim to uphold as a welcoming and inclusive city? A decision of this magnitude should not happen behind closed doors or without meaningful public engagement. A public meeting would provide an opportunity for transparency, to understand the scope of the lease, how the space would be used, and what safeguards, if any, are being considered. More importantly, it would allow residents to be heard. The people impacted by this decision deserve a seat at the table. They deserve to ask questions, to voice concerns, and receive honest answers. This is not just about politics, it's about trust. When decisions are made without public input, trust erodes. When communities are included, even difficult conversations can move forward with integrity. We're not asking anything unreasonable, we're asking for a public forum, a conversation with a company that has repeatedly and consistently ignored requests from its residents. This is a chance for the city to demonstrate that it values openness, values the voices of its residents, and will work to provide accountability for the people it serves. Please commit to pressuring Redico to hold a public town hall before any agreements move forward and show this community that their concerns matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill Spatafor. Please state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jill Spatafora, and I am a constituent of Southfield. I think most of us have probably heard that saying that democracy is not a spectator sport. Until the last few years, I would admit I've been guilty of just being a spectator. But I would kind of modify that saying tonight for just a little bit to be such that democracy is not just a spectator sport. And by that I mean us as citizens, as most of you are aware, and elected officials around the country now are aware, citizens are now watching. We are participating. We have woken up. And we are demanding that our elected officials work on behalf of the will of the people. I admit I am not knowledgeable enough to know what in your past all of you have done. I imagine you've done great jobs. You wouldn't be here, and I respect you for that position. However, we have this issue before us now with ICE and Redico, and for whatever unknown reason, there has not been cooperation. And all we are asking is a simple letter, as Lathrop Village has done, demanding that they meet with us. We are concerned citizens, and you are our elected officials. In addition to that, we are not going anywhere. So if there are elected officials who continue to not work on behalf of the will of the people, there are elections. And speaking of elections, I want to thank the city clerk for his presentation tonight. On our behalf, I would like to urge every citizen to take him up on his offer to become an election, either a poll watcher, a poll challenger, work for the city elections, to monitor these elections coming up in November. We cannot take anyone's word that everything will be done fairly and by law, as we have seen several elected officials do in the last few years. We can volunteer with our political party or take a position with the city clerk's office to help monitor these elections to ensure that every vote is counted and correctly counted, and that these elections remain fair and free. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, please forgive me in advance. Shamil Halad? Hallow. Thank you, sir. Please state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident.
Shaman Halabu, I am an attorney and representing.
If I may, he's actually here for the item. Were you going to speak on the item, Mr. Shabu? We have a consent judgment, vacation of consent judgment. Excuse me, consent judgment, so I wasn't sure if he was speaking on that or not, but he's under my portion, which is at the end. He came to the Cal on March 9th, so I think he just wanted to speak to you.
What, did you want to speak in addition to, or are we going to wait for the item to come on the agenda?
We can be on the agenda. I mean, it's just a simple matter of the consent judgment that has already been discussed with the city attorney.
So if we could just stay tuned. We'll get to your item shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ben Gardner, please state your name for the podium, at the podium, and whether you're a Southfield resident.
I have a handout for council. Thank you. My name is Ben Gardner. I'm a Wayne County resident. Thank you so much. And I'm Michigan's Senior Campaign Manager for All Voting is Local. All Voting is Local is a nonpartisan, pro-democracy voting rights organization that believes in a simple message: all power to all voters. We work in coalition with other nonpartisan partners to expand and protect voting rights. And I want to thank the clerk for his proactive presentation today. I'm here to speak in support of a resolution that other communities have passed in opposing the proposed documentary proof of citizenship ballot initiative. You may have heard of it as the SAVE Act on the federal level. You may have seen the recent legislation, House Bill 4765. But we are asking local leaders like you, trusted leaders, to look out for the voters and speak out. There's a few things I want to correct the record around. Some folks have said this is about voter ID. This is not about voter ID. We already show our ID when we vote. We have voter verification when we register. This is about creating barriers to voting for low-income folks, folks with disabilities, rural voters, folks who have had a name change, married women in this country. There's more than 69 married women who could be impacted if this were enacted on the federal level. And I want to highlight the folks that are speaking out against this proposal in support of this resolution that we hope that you'll bring. This coalition is almost 40 organizations. They don't represent Democrats or Republicans. They just represent voters with a variety of different constituencies. And these are really trustworthy organizations. The ACLU of Michigan, the United Way of Southeastern Michigan, League of Women Voters, right? These are not partisan organizations. So I just would urge you to look up a little bit more about these organizations and realize who's asking you to take up this resolution. Would encourage you to join the city of Pontiac and many other communities that have passed this resolution, because I think the voters deserve to know the truth. You know, our elections are safe and secure. We do verify voters, and we do not have a problem in this country with non-citizens voting. In fact, you're more likely to get struck by lightning than we are to have non-citizens voting in our elections. So the last thing I want to say with my final 30 seconds is, you know, Michigan has really made strides because the voters enacted pro-democracy changes in the state constitution with same-day registration, no excuse absentee voting, and early voting. So let's continue to build on that progress. Let's not listen to special interests and billionaires who try and undermine our elections. And I want to thank you and hope you consider the resolution at a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Carter, please come to the podium, state your name and whether you are a resident.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Alex, and I have been a resident of Southfield for 8 years. I want to start off by thanking President Hicks as well as Councilwoman Bland for coming to the Southfield Neighbors Action Committee meeting last week to discuss Redico and the lease with ICE. We were told by Council during this meeting that if we get Redico to cancel a lease here, they'll just move elsewhere, and that is why we need to pursue this at a federal level. With all due respect, this kind of thinking is what has gotten us into this mess to begin with. I can see the way Council might think this is NIMBYism at its finest, a bunch of bored people who don't have jobs or kids family, friends, hobbies, responsibilities, or anything to do outside of this to find a random cause and launch ourselves into it. No, I don't want this in my backyard. I don't want it in your backyard either. I don't want ice in the backyard of any home in Wayne or Macomb or Texas or airport. I don't want this group of fascist and cruel people to have roots anywhere in this country. SNAC isn't just trying to get them out of Southfield. We are pushing to make their lives so hard, we have another Avelo situation on our hands where ICE is forced to stop the reign of terror. We want the neighborhoods they feel comfortable cozying into to continue to dwindle until there's nowhere else for them to go, until it's back to their mom's windowless basement where they came from. What I have to see every day is ICE inventing reasons to pull over brown people. What I have to watch is the true and recent story of an ICE officer in Oakland County holding up their phone next to the faces of a pregnant wife and her husband, pointing at the wife and saying, "You're good," and then pointing at the husband saying, "You're not," and only deporting him. I will let you guess whose skin was darker. I'm watching people hide in ponds out of fear for their lives, people who haven't been able to work in months because ICE is waiting for them to show up to their jobs. ICE is ramming into cars on the road to kidnap people inside and following home and threatening fellow activists who are using their voice to stand up to them. Do you know what is allowing them to get away with this violence and destruction? It's the lawyers that Redico is welcoming to work in their building just a few blocks away from here. Everything that is being said by City Council right now is being done behind closed doors and through private email chains and phone conversations. There is no accountability and there is no public consequences to Redico for ignoring you and denying you. My very simple ask for today is that each council member send a letter to Redico on their official letterhead publicly to ask for a town hall. We made the same request a month ago to Lathrop Village City Council, and not only did they immediately agree to do this during the meeting, but they did it publicly and they gave us a letter which you have gotten today. They did not tell us that using the word demand was too aggressive and that we need to play nice with Redico. They stood by our side and made a transparent agreement with a community that isn't even theirs to work for. This is the leadership we need and we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Elliot Carter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elliot Carter. I've been a Southfield resident for 8 years, and I am part of SNAC, the Southfield Neighbors Action Committee. I also wanted to start by thanking Councilwoman Bland and Council President Hicks for joining our meeting on last Thursday to discuss the Redico lease to OPLA, the lawyers for ICE. It was refreshing to see our elected officials taking their first steps towards making good on their resolution for community safety, civil rights, and local policy. I want to remind the council of a section from the resolution. The mayor and city council of Southfield encourage continued community dialogue and collaboration to support a safe, stable, and inclusive community. It seems that the council is either unwilling to or powerless to make these promises a reality. The people of our community are asking for transparency, a public forum for our concerns to be heard by Redico. The council has been unwilling to ask in a in their professional capacity, even when our neighbors in Lathrop Village did so without hesitation. Council President Hicks, you also assured us at our last meeting last week that you used your pull as council president to have Redico respond after weeks of silence. We were met with yet another rejection. I also find your recent statements contradict the resolution, which said, and I quote, "The city of Southfield remains committed to being a welcoming and inclusive community where all residents feel safe, respected, and supported." Instead, as the community continues to feel unsafe, you describe Redico as part of the community and that your duty is to be fair to all of Southfield's stakeholders. I want to make it clear that despite the address of their office, Redico is not part of the community as we see it. What I have loved about Southfield since the moment I moved here is how caring the people have been to us. We've had each other's backs. We use our strengths to support our neighbors' weaknesses. Redico does not seem to represent these values. Their CEO has talked publicly on a podcast about the purchase of American House senior living facilities as a recession-proof business during the real estate crash in 2008. Think about that. To Redico, the place that many of us trust to take care of our spouse, a parent, a grandparent, is just a strategic investment to them. Since the takeover, there have been countless reports of neglect of our elders at their facilities, and they've been verified by the state of Michigan regulatory authorities. They include the negligent deaths of 2 Michigan seniors, Calvin Powers and Gene Bruin. Redico's seeming dehumanizing attitude towards our elders does not represent the neighborly care that our community stands for. We care for each other, especially our most vulnerable, while they make profit off of our seniors and return to their million-dollar homes in other cities.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, that was warning number 3. Next outbreak, we'll have to have some people removed. Mr. McWilliams, please come to the podium. Stay with your Southfield resident.
Good evening. My name is Garland McWilliams, a Southfield resident for about 30 years now. And my concern is the condition of some of the roads in Southfield. And I've, past couple of years, I've been bringing the same subject up, especially about Mount Vernon. Right now, it's really deteriorating to a state where it's almost impassable. I drive down there all the time. I'm a block off of Mount Vernon. I live in Pennsylvania. And I see people dodging potholes, going other lanes to avoid potholes and everything. I've been seeing some patching in the neighborhood. And, you know, it's just patchwork. It's not, you know, it's really like, it's not doing a great bit of good. I just want to know the status of the repaving that's supposed to be going on Mount Vernon between Greenfield and Southfield. I think last year they repaved Mount Vernon between Northwestern Highway and Southfield. So I'm on the other side. And, you know, I talk to my neighbors and they say, well, they're going to just do what they want to do. Well, you know, I like to voice my opinion about it and my concerns with my neighbors, you know. I've been there for 30 years, and I really enjoy Southfield. You know, I moved here, and I enjoy the diversification of the people in Southfield and everything, and it's a good place to live. I have people, my friends from other communities come in, and they drive down Mount Vernon, and they say, well, you know, what's wrong with your street here? You know, it's full of holes and everything, you know, and I say, well, you know, they're in the process of getting this done. So, you know, I just want to know what's going on. And I think last year there was supposed to be a plan of some sort to repave that area. And so far, you know, I haven't seen any work being done. In fact, a lot of the side streets that feed off of Mount Vernon need a lot of work. You know, they throw a little black patch in there. And, you know, it's a help, it's something, but, you know, we need a lot more. And I don't know whether someone in Lansing can get this done, but we got to get it done.
Thank you, sir. Robert John Cock, if you could please state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident.
Robert John Cox, resident in the Beacon Square neighborhood for 40 years. When driving down Winchester this winter, I was surprised at the condition of the former school building, which was quite visible when you looked between the houses as you're driving down the street. It looked like a textbook example of urban decay. I was curious if the condition of the building was due to a partial demolition of the building or the result of vandalism and scrappers. I felt very bad for my neighbors whose backyards looked out on such blight. Last Thursday, the Beacon Square Homeowners Association had their first meeting of 2026. Our guest speaker at the meeting was your Director of Code Enforcement. When Q&A for her started, residents immediately brought up the concerns about the condition of this school. Discussion on the status of this property went on for some time of the meeting, and information was shared between residents and the board members. I understand from the board that plans were already in place for this topic to be on the agenda for our next meeting. Several residents stated at the meeting they would start voicing their concerns about this property at city council meetings, so that's why I attended today. Since my home isn't adjacent to the school property, I don't really have firsthand knowledge of what has been occurring day to day on the property that was purchased by the current owner. Hopefully there will be other speakers either this evening or at future meetings that will provide more firsthand information. However, I did do a little bit of looking into research using the city's BSNA website for tonight's meeting. And the one thing I was curious about is I saw that the property, which was sold by the Southfield School District in January 2024 for $585,000, that since that time, there are, property taxes were assessed on that property, but from BSNA standpoint, I see that no property taxes have been paid by the new owner during the last couple of years, and that the delinquent taxes have been turned over to the Oakland County Treasurer, at least according to my interpretation there. So it's kind of reminiscent of the housing crisis we had with homes in the area, and I was just curious if we could be seeing the same kind of thing playing out there with unpaid property taxes, and I was curious if the treasurer or the council might have some comments, especially other school properties, if they've had if that same type of thing happens where the developers aren't really paying taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Greg Keeler, please state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident.
Greg Keeler, Southfield resident. I'm going to read again from our calendar that y'all send out to every resident in the city of Southfield. Southfield residents are represented by their elected municipal officials who are responsible for setting city and government rules and policies and serve as a direct link for the citizens. This link seems to be broken. It needs to be fixed to the City Hall. If we are coming here and they are asking for questions and asking for different things, are you voting in the way your residents are asking for? Before y'all have a letter that's dated November 22nd, 2000, from the city to Lawrence Tech. 3 simple sentences. It would be nice if I had it up on the wall so everybody can see it in the audience as well. And the conversation is regarding easements. And they are unable to obtain the easements from Lawrence Tech for the purpose of sewer lines. It's in there, just 3 simple lines. We are therefore seeking an alternative route and have begun our plans. That was 26 years ago. How come I don't have a sewer line? That's in there. That is from the letter, your letterhead from the city. How did the ball get dropped? We have lost 10 homes, approximately about 10 to 20 homes over there. The cost in property tax over the years, $1.3 million that you have lost because there is no sewer line there. So if you are represented and you are a link, what are you doing for us? Are you trying to fix the broke problem we have here with communicating with you? When people came here for the AI and the data centers not being here, it was 2 hours worth of conversation that they didn't want. And we only had 2 people who listened to the residents. Vendors come in here. They are able to put their pictures up for display for everybody to see. Residents can't. Vendors come here, and they come and speak on the internet. Residents got to be here and present before 6 o'clock to be able to speak. Does it sound like you work for the residents?
Thank you, sir. Susan, Yagishian? Please forgive me. Yagissian.
That was very good.
I just was
Hi, that's fine. I'm used to that my whole life. My name is Susan Yagissian. I've been a Southfield resident for 41 years, and I was actually here in February before I got involved with Southfield Neighbors, the Southfield Neighbors Action Coalition, with exactly the same concern. So my father was an immigrant and came to this country for safety, to get away from, the feeling of danger of being stopped and being recognized as being an other. And Councilman Hicks and Councilwoman Bland, we're so glad you came to our meeting last week. You also gave stories of those experiences. So as my shirt says, everybody versus injustice, I think we need to find things we can agree on, and we want Southfield to be a safe place. And we are not comfortable with having the lawyers for ICE in Southfield. And we want to ask the Southfield Council to send a letter, as the Lathrop Village Council did, to request this public meeting so we can express to Redico our concerns and our questions. And I think that we can see that when communities work together, when people work together, that's when we can affect change. So thank you for listening to me tonight, and thank you for your continued interest in this question.
Thank you, ma'am. Jean Bartis? Battis? Harold Tyler? Please state your name and whether you're a Southfield resident for the record.
It's my wife's name, Diana Clowney Tyler, and Harold Tyler, resident since '83. We live in Hampshire, and we're on Silvercrest. Our concern is the construction company. And the problem that we have is, initially, when they talked to the council and us right here, they came over and brought us a letter, and they said anytime that they have to do something and they block off your driveway or something, that they would give us a letter the evening before to let us know to get out of your driveway or something. Okay, and also a employee did that. And that has not been followed. My wife and I both are retired. We wake up early. And, you know, if you're going to get there, that's fine. But they don't oblige to that. And you can mention it to them, And their answer is, we need you to get that done. And I'm kind of a moody individual at times. I get real moody, okay? And that pushes me. Now we have this great construction company that they come and go. And there have been times that we don't see them for 2 to 3 weeks. And that's what's going on. They pack up and leave, and then you don't see them. And then they come back on a watery day, you know. And now they've gotten through, and we got about 1 million potholes. And I have no idea when they're gonna get through. Everything is dirty and dusty. And we're just trying to find out what are they doing and who is going to come over and tell us. Because when you ask them a question, they surely let you know I'm not in charge. And I'm asking somebody from the council, somebody from the city, let us know. So we have some representation. You know, and I'm the moodiest guy in our subdivision. And I'm beginning to get real moody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jessica Mahalik, please come to the podium, state your name, and whether you're a Southfield resident for the record.
Hello, I'm Jessica Mahalik. I'm a Southfield resident and have been for 15 years. First, I wanted to say that I am grateful that somebody came here from Wayne County to support our voting rights here in Southfield. And I hope you all take that into account as well. Not the reason I came here, but just wanted to say that. I am here to address 2 issues. The first is about the dirt on Northland Mall construction site. If what I heard is correct, there is exposed asbestos blowing around in the air. I lost many members of my family to mesothelioma. My family got the disease because they lived in a town in New Jersey that created asbestos. If this is true, that there is exposed toxins, including asbestos, floating in the air in Southfield, then it is imperative you have the dirt covered and dealt with, however it is supposed to be handled, to ensure that our residents are safe. I don't want to hear that it doesn't belong to us, because it's in our city, right? Another issue, another thing I wanted to say about that is that the ailments from these toxins do not happen to people immediately. So we all might not be around to apologize to the people that those things affect. Sometimes it takes up to 60 years for those things to happen, so we won't be around. A good way to apologize is just by trying our best to do what we can now. That's how I feel. Another reason I'm here is on behalf of SNAC to ask the same ask we've been asking for 2 months, which is to have a letter-headed request from the city to Redico for a public town hall to address public concerns about their lease with OPLA, the lawyers for ICE. We need to have clear accountability as to why ICE is in Southfield. More importantly, I am asking Redico, if they are listening, to end the lease with OPLA. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Harris, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and whether you're a Southfield resident.
How you doing today? Keith Harris. My man, Gabby. Thank you. That is the brightest young man. I know that young man. Diversity work, don't it? Diversity work. It really works. I appreciate you bringing that young man in. I'm always hollering about diversity. You know, our organization is called RACE, R-A-S-E, Real Activism Serves Everyone. And before I get on this subject, I'm going to say Miss Yolanda Haynes, could you please do a PowerPoint presentation with all the neighborhood presidents on that subject? That's a subject you should bring them all in and do a presentation on that to protect our communities. Now I'm gonna get back on my subject here. I'm fighting every day to make our Democratic Club more open, better. I'm trying to end the racism in the Southfield Lathrop Dem Club. Anytime you have a Dem Club that don't allow other ethnicities, or you witness rudeness to other ethnicities, you have to call it out. You guys have seen me come to this podium as an African-American man defending black people, but I just don't defend black people, I defend all people, because an injustice is an injustice. We're going to dismantle the Southfield Lathrop Dem Club. We're bringing in a whole new Dem Club in Southfield. We're going to make a diverse club in Southfield. We're going to make Southfield work for everyone. If you are a Democrat or it don't even matter if you're a visiting Republican. We want everyone to feel like you belong. You know, the funny thing about politics, it's only every other 2 years. After this year go by, we won't have another election for what, 2 more years? We shouldn't be fighting against one another every time an election comes or letting people like Joe Persons even divide us. You know, I sat back and I heard this guy for years talk about he's a highly trained killer. I'm been trained better than Navy SEALs and Army Rangers. I was a killer for George W. Bush. This guy just got through saying at an ICE Out meeting that he just got off the phone with the Pentagon. Like, wow, who did you talk to? I just got off the phone to the Pentagon. And then at a recent meeting, he made the statement, I'm a highly decorated man, soldier, and I can take out and remove anybody I want. Now, to me, that's scary. That's scary. We just had a soldier today kill his wife and his 7 kids. This is serious. This is really serious what Joe do. We can no longer take it. Thank you, and thank you for hiring that young man.
Thank you, sir. Pam Gerald?
And all of God's people said amen. The last time I spoke, I was talking about our elected officials acting as fiduciaries for the citizens who are at the top of the organizational chart. And in doing so, I mentioned that we have several people on city council that does not handle their campaign finance affairs like they should when you represent the people. Now, it was said after I spoke that the city of Southfield has a standard. Oakland County has a standard. And in order for Oakland County to serve us like you should be serving the people of Southfield, when you owe for fines, errors, and omissions, you need to pay that so we can be served also at the county level. You can't say that you're this great elected official when you, number one, file your campaign finance report late. You can't say that you're this awesome elected official when you submit a messy report that doesn't reflect the image that you try to show up there on the dais. I'm not going to call any names because you know who I'm talking to, and I'm standing here for another minute or so you can look and you'll know. You need to handle your affairs appropriately. I'm going to push for some kind of legislation or something at the county level that says, if you do not do right by your campaign finance report and reflect the standard that Oakland County has, you cannot be sworn in. And if you're not able to be sworn in for 90 days, then you have to forfeit the election that you were elected, and then the city would have to have another special election. Like the special election that we paid $95,000 for the mayoral race to get rid of one person. We could have got 2 new restrooms right here. We could have got 2 new restrooms in Parks and Rec with that $95,000. So now get your affairs together. I want to see those auditing capabilities. I want to see the Southfield standard applied to Oakland County, because we love our county like we love our city. Now pay your bill. If you can't pay your bill, step off the dais and put some people up there that will pay their bill.
That concludes correspondence. There was a couple of comments related to some ballot resolutions that were being sought of council. What I've asked our legislative committee to take a look at these legislations, to present a recommendation to council per the ask of us endorsing that resolution. There were several concerns related to streets. And so what I ask is if Mr. Director, if you could support and maybe go outside and have a conversation with those who voiced concern related to Silvercrest as well as Mount Vernon. We can make sure that we have an accurate account of your ask. There was several concerns related to, well, there was a concern related to Leonard School, which was voiced by a constituent. I do know that there is development happening on that location. We can get more information and follow back up with you, unless Mr. Administrator or someone else on the administration has a more accurate update. There were several requests and concerns related to the lease at Two Town Center. One thing that I just want to make clear is that, the request that was sent to me, number one, I serve the constituents of Southfield, but I also serve this body, and I can't write a letter without making sure that I have consensus from the group. So we will have discussion on that item. Council, the dirt at Southfield. We will have that statement verified and we'll respond back accordingly. Council, am I missing anything? Yes, ma'am.
In reference to the housing issue, these are copies of papers that anybody can get if they just address the clerk, and they can get copies of the Michigan Home Program. Because by the time I have a community meeting, they may be out of session. We are welcome to go to the Homeowners Association, but they have to invite us. But on that same behalf, it can be emailed to the presidents, and the presidents can get that information out. I feel better doing that instead of waiting for next month to get that information out. The presentation, I couldn't do a personal PowerPoint because they have their own, but if you go to the social media Facebook page of SIMCOG, they have all the papers there, all the information at your disposal. It's the same information that I would pass out if I were to have a community meeting. And I don't have a problem against that. It's just that it may take some time to do that, and you need that information now, because you can contact your local official, representative, and let them know, state representative and state senator, and let them know your concerns on that bill, those bills rather.
There was another item, I'm sorry, I'm going to get to you, Mr. Mayor. There was one more item about outstanding taxes that we will also follow up on with the treasurer. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. He just walked out of the room, but next Monday's agenda is the approval of the repaving of Mount Vernon from Southfield Road to Greenfield. Sorry he left.
He's out there talking to Mr.
Okay. Secondly, to the person that talked about the dirt at Northland, you can't believe everything that's put online. And the source of this information was fired by Fox News. He was fired by the Detroit News. He was arrested for domestic violence. He was arrested for public urination and calling 3 Detroit policewomen whores. Any of his reporting is sensational. It's comical in a sense. And his charge that Guyanga worked at Northland is totally untrue. Again, I would consider the source. And unfortunately, lots of people can say anything they want and they put it on the internet, and you have to be circumspect about whether you're going to believe what they're peddling. In this case, the purveyor of this information is a person who loves to sensationalize.
Okay, I do have an update related to the question about the Leonard School. The developer indicates that the building permit is paid for, and they're waiting for the city to present the permit, that they have no tickets for blighted property, and that the taxes are wrapped into a financing package. So if there's anything that may be outstanding in BSNA, I think it may be a timing issue, but we will verify and update the public. That concludes correspondence. We have minutes for the
Mr. President,
March 3rd.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to pull that item, please, on final review today. I found a few items that need updates, so we could pull that, please, this week. I'll be back next week.
Okay, thank you, sir. Consent agenda. These are items that are considered routine, non-controversial, or have previously been discussed. Council, are there any items that you would like to pull for any additional discussion or clarity?
I just want clarity on J, the rescind no parking traffic control orders at former schools. Can you hear me? Okay, I just wasn't there. J, the rescind no parking traffic control orders at former schools, just for the community to understand what that means, because we do see a lot of cars parked at schools that are now closed, so just clarity.
I could get the DPW director. I know he can address that, if you'd like. I think he's talking to the residents.
The city administrator and I initiated this request because, for instance, the signs on Independence outside of Leonard School, the street is closed at Leonard, and the no parking from 8 to 5, I think you couldn't even read the sign anymore. It had been totally bleached out, and Leonard School closed in 2010. Brace Letterly, there were signs on Greenview, and in that case, the school closed in 2015. And McKinley School closed in 2015 as a charter school. So they're not serving a purpose anymore, and many of the signs were in disarray or illegible. But you have a sign in front of your house.
Mr. Director, anything to add? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, I don't know what the
So
discussion
the
has been.
question posed by Councilwoman Bland was item J. She wanted more clarity given for community on the traffic control order being rescinded at schools. She wanted to give a high level so that the community can understand what this item is.
Yeah, so per section 10 of the city's code of ordinances, the traffic engineer has the authority to issue traffic control orders for various, speeds, restricted turns, no parking, etc. The traffic engineer can only issue those TCOs on a temporary basis. Council has to act to make them permanent. So when these schools were operational, council had enacted these TCOs establishing those no parking zones. Now that those schools are not functional anymore, and those signs have not been maintained, the original purpose for those signs is no longer there, so we're asking council to repeal those TCOs now so we can take those signs down.
Yes, sir.
I had a question about this one also. Jay, just from an enforcement standpoint, have people been, and this could be, but have people been unnecessarily ticketed for this particular, wherever these signs are? If they should not have been there, they should have been taken down. You know, you get my point. I'm trying to say, somebody just happened to get ticketed because they were a day late or whatever. To me, I was reading this, did we unnecessarily ticket a citizen?
Not that I'm aware of.
So is there a way?
I mean, no, I haven't.
Okay, I know, I'm not, and this is probably one of those cases where we're just drilling down too much because it's probably a nebulous item. I hate to see any citizen who has a ticket for something that is, unnecessarily. And I don't know what tickets are these days, because I'm keeping my family, haven't had a ticket in so long, I don't know what to do anymore. So does it make sense for us to even be concerned about a citizen who might have got a ticket last week? And no, is there anything we can do to tell the court, disregard these tickets for these locations, or is that even legal?
So, right.
They're moving old, taking down.
I know, and they're taking them down, but they're still up. Did an officer, or did we inadvertently ticket someone for something that is being taken down?
So, the police department can speak to enforcement of the signs. I'll just say, if any resident has been ticketed at these locations, I mean, come forward and, we'll deal with it. But like I said, I'm not aware of anyone who's been ticketed.
Okay, I get it. And this is probably, I know it's kind of nebulous, but, things happen. Someone needs $90 where they got a ticket. So we are saying that if you got tonight we're saying if you got a ticket in any of these areas, you should contest that with the parking people and try to get it thrown out?
I mean, reach out to us, let us know, we'll see.
Excuse me?
Let us know, we can investigate it further.
Okay, so we got to answer. If you have a ticket in any of these locations, well, he just said it. And I'm repeating what he said, just let him know, and they will take a look at
To the
it.
council president,
Yes, sir.
I am not aware of any cases where anybody has been ticketed. The residents would like them removed because they're in front of their house and they serve no purpose.
Wait a minute. We have these things up, and if you got a ticket there, it's a ticket, it's allowed.
I'm
But
not aware of
they have to
anybody
be
being
enforced,
ticketed.
and like I said, the signs are up, but they have to be enforced. And I'm not aware that there has been any enforcement here.
Okay, like I said, I know it's kind of nebulous. This is probably my heart of hearts kind of thing. I said, I hated for Mrs. Jones to get a ticket for that location that is being removed. But then, now I'm gonna repeat your words. You said if somebody got a ticket, just contact you. So we'll take it from there. And excuse me for dealing with this minor issue, but I'm thinking about Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they got a ticket, and I'm assuming tickets are high. And, those tickets could go to buy gas or a bottle of milk or something. So Okay, well, it was just a general question, so you gave me the answer.
Any other questions on item J? Are there any other items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda for any additional clarity or question?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we approve consent agenda item A, authorization to purchase First Due software subscription. Item B, authorization to install a mural on the south wall of the municipal building. Item C, the acceptance of the art donation paper airplanes sculpture. Item D, acceptance of award for Oakland County Transit Access to Transit Grant for the 9-mile mid-block safety crossing. Item E, contract to lease the Laughing Elephant sculpture. Item F, Oakland Community College streetscapes easements. Item G, Oakland Community College signage and utility easements. Item H, receipt of the ACS rules. Item I, receipt of bids for the irrigation services. Item J, to rescind the no parking traffic control orders at former schools. Item K, authorization to purchase data domain expansion licenses for technology services. And item L, authorization to purchase election management software.
It's been moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have one item to be discussed, capital improvement plan. Mr. Planner?
Good evening. As you recall, this is our annual presentation of the City of Southfield Capital Improvement Program. There's a lot of departments and individuals that are involved with this starting in December of each year. I want to thank the planning team, Sarah Malali, who continued to assist us, city administration, O&B, and all the departments that put in countless hours, as well as the Planning Commission and the Finance Committee. What is the CIP? The CIP outlines a schedule of public expenditures for a 6-year period for inclusion in the annual budget. The first year is the actual annual budget. Years 2 through 6 are projected from each department on things coming down the pipe. It doesn't address all capital expenditures, but typically physical improvements that are permanent in nature or substantial purchases of equipment over $5,000. The CIP is beneficial to the community because it provides a systematic evaluation of all potential projects, coordination between departments, and a uniform plan for financing. It is also a requirement of the State Planning Enabling Act, where planning commissions, after adoption of a master plan, shall annually prepare a capital improvements program of public structures and improvements, and it also is a requirement of our redevelopment ready certification. The State Enabling Planning Acts requires us to show those public structures and improvements in the general order of their priority within an ensuing 6-year period. Each agency or department of the local unit of government shall provide a list, plans, and estimates of time and cost of these public structures and improvements. This will give you some guidance as you enter into your budget cycle. Last CIP was adopted in April of '25. A copy of it is available on our website. Again, we start this process in the beginning of December. Planning Commission holds a long-range study meeting where all the departments present. Planning Commission has further studies. It was presented to the City Council Finance Committee on March 23rd. We held a public comment and Planning Commission recommendation on the 25th of March, and tonight is for discussion and hopefully adoption. There are 8 primary areas of the CIP budget, which includes equipment, facilities, water and sewer, stormwater and floodplains, parks and recreation, data management, roads and bridges, and pedestrian enhancements. And each of you should have a full copy of the report. And I'm just going to do a high-level overview, starting with equipments and facilities. Southfield Public Library is installing energy-efficient chiller, paving a redesign of all outdoor areas, updating their boilers and hot water heater, completing their mobile lab project, and expanding technology in the library. They also took some critical steps on the comprehensive building condition assessment, space programming assessment, and phasing of major improvements that help guide their CIP over the next 6 years. This is just some of the examples and anticipated costs of about $6.1 million. Southfield Police Department, as you know, have been here long enough. They only have a certain lifespan of typically 5 to 8 years for their service weapons, their tasers, and other items that they need, so they continually replace those on a rotating basis. Ballistic vests have a certain service life. On average, 30 ballistic vests are replaced each year. Flock license plate readers have been an important tool that the police department have utilized recently. The Axon purchase program, as far as body cameras and the vehicle camera and their tasers. And ballistic helmets is, again, another piece of vital equipment that they change on an annual basis. They've been talking about this crime lab renovation for many years now, and it's finally being scheduled for fiscal year 26-27. Their detention center needs some upgrades. It's outlined here. And then their investigation division patrol administration renovations, building repairs, locker room repairs and upgrades. The Southfield Fire Department lists their staffing here. They've been tracking their vehicles' life. It's not just about mileage, but wear and tear and potential costs of upcoming vehicles over the next couple years. Other equipment needs are listed here on the slide. And then miscellaneous upgrades, including software, and they've been programmed that out through fiscal year 32. They do an annual assessment of their fire department facilities. There currently are 5 firehouses in the city. And then estimating on facilities repair, replacement, and upgrades, including a new station number 3 at $13 million, new station 1, and remodeling station 5. Some substantial capital improvement projects to be considered over the next several years. And then some exterior beautification and projects to their existing facilities. Emergency management has need for supplies and logistical support equipment. There's a list of the new vehicle requirements or requests over the next 6 years. And then some other equipment needs for that program to fully operate. This is the Emergency Operations Center upgrades as well. There's a number of functional needs in the municipal campus itself, the main one being the replacement and upgrade of the municipal chiller, the refrigerant, long lead and replacement time, and we're spending about $350,000 to rent a temporary chiller. So there's an estimate of $1.4 million for fiscal year 26-27. And that's to replace the original chiller. And the facilities is also estimating the amount of ADA compliance issues and upgrades that are required over the next several years. DPW motor pool annually assesses the equipment needs of all the departments and has those listed. Water, sewer, roads, and bridges. The DPW and engineering usually scope out a several-year capital improvement program depending on need as a priority assessment and funding sources. This is the next 5-year construction period for roads, and they try to coordinate that with any water sewer upgrades. Stormwater and floodplains, as we know, continue to be a challenge for municipalities. There's non-traditional ways to treat stormwater, greater focus with requirements from Eagle, and important to coordinate with other departments on stormwater best practice, management practices. And then these are some of the projects that have been scheduled and funded. And then future stormwater projects include detention pond retrofits, green infrastructure projects, and stream bank and infrastructure erosion control methods. Parks and Recreation continue to provide a variety of programs, events, and park operations in over 770 acres in the city, as well as 7 diverse facilities. These are projects completed and in progress, as listed above. These are projects scheduled for 26 and 27. And then ADA development project on senior space in the Parks and Rec building improvements. And then investment in parks over the last 5 years. Data management system. Tech Services is responsible for continuing to provide cybersecurity, replacing computers and server replacements on an annual basis, document management software, BSNA financial systems, firewall maintenance, Cisco switch replacements, in-car laptop and docking station, and UPS replacements. They've been integrating and rolling out a secure badging system, gigabyte telephones, and fiber iNet improvements. Then finally, under pedestrian enhancements, we continue to try to implement our Sustainable Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan, providing alternate modes of mobility, providing walking and biking opportunities, connecting pedestrian links, and continue to develop our shared use pathway system. Some of this was based on a city employee survey, working with ROSEC, looking at how we're doing on recycling, public engagement on participation with the food waste elimination program, Blue Point to Zero Food Waste in Southfield, and rolling out the composting program that we shared with you last week, and then our recycling bins on our trial basis here on the municipal campus. We're continuing to work on looking for innovative ways with solar-powered bollard lights that are action-motivated along our pathway systems. Tree planting has been important. We continue to apply for tree grants and match our tree trust fund, working with DPW and their forestry program to repopulate trees that have been destroyed through disease or climate control, and focus our trees on expanded shared use pathways. This is just a summary of where the money has been going for the last decade. And then we continue to work with our partners, with the Southfield Public Arts, the Friends of the Southfield Public Arts, the DIA program, and others, the City Center, to help fund and improve placemaking along our strategic corridors, expanding our trail system to connect with our regional trail network, working with the 9-line corridor, which will eventually link 30 linear miles from Hazel Park to South Lyon. Southfield is leading in that development. These are some of the successful TAP grants that we've received that will be starting construction this year and next year. And then some of the placemaking elements, respite stations, bike repair, dog treat stations, and mile markers. And then tonight, Oakland County Transit presented us with a check for $420,000. As I stated last week, we also received a grant from the Regional Transit Authority for all the engineering costs to help implement this safety measures at the hospital. And this is based on not just feel-good stuff, but actual baseline community assessment. For every dollar that the city spends on trails, there's a cost-benefit ratio of 7.39. And then we continue to look and work with our partners at Oakland County on developing the Rouge River Corridor, wayfinding, 9-line signage that you've recently approved. And then you also approved tonight the easements that allow us to do some partnerships with Oakland Community College. We continue to develop our gateway and entrance sign program, develop our wayfinding, pedestrian amenities, signage, and then streetscape elements. bus stop improvements and providing accessibility to each of our bus stops and transit. I believe we're about 65% complete with all the bus transit locations in the city. And then recently, working with many departments, including Parks and Rec and DPW, expanding the front promenade to make it more accessible and usable for special events throughout the year. And our total summary from the planning department. So with that, we're at that final step. I know it was very quick and high-level overview. I had to condense 3 hours into about 15 minutes, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Mr. Mayor, Council, any questions? Councilman Brightwell?
Yeah, Chair, this is probably a question I've asked. What is the total value of the CIP for that year, upcoming year?
Let's see what I need. $267 million over 6 years. That's the actual budget with the wish list of all the departments. So that's a 6-year total capital improvement program, which is pretty much in line with what's been done in the past. If you look at just fiscal year 26-27, it's $75 million.
Okay. No, and like I said, and I was impressed when you came up with the CIP several years ago, and I mentioned to you that obviously I used to sit through the capital expenditure, which was $5 billion for my former employer. Every year they spent $5 billion. And so it was exciting just to see how that was going. And this is a compliment. I compliment you for it because it gives us the way forward and what we are doing, and the citizens also can see what we are doing to maintain the capital items, in essence, within the city. So it's, to me, I'm kind of a numbers guy, and I just love, seeing how expenditure money is being sent in the future. Thank you.
So if I could, if you look back a couple years ago, fire department anticipated they needed a new ladder truck. I think we just took delivery of it. It was $1.2 million. This just allows the council, as they're looking at their budget, to look at all the needs that are coming up. And not everything in the capital improvement project will get funded, but if it's not in the CIP, the budget wouldn't be approved. And administration and working with O&D ensures that all departments who ask for something in our annual budget is at least reflected in the capital improvement plan. And you as council, as you're looking at this year's fiscal budget, this is try to forecast what's coming down the pipe in the next couple of years in case you have to make some budgeting decisions on how we're going to fund that next purchase of that big piece of equipment or the aquatic center or major renovations to the municipal campus, that you're looking at all the needs and requests of all the departments at the time that you're looking at the actual budget.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Haynes?
Yes, Mr. Planner, can you just explain for the residents some of the things that you have done as a result of that, what you will be doing in the future as far as speaking in terms of planning?
Well, I mean, we continue, I believe the last couple of years, we've received several $1 million in the shared youth pathway that we've been dedicated to 9-Line. So our goal is to connect Greenfield to Inkster with a non-motorized pathway the entire 6 miles. And as we work with our partners, that Greenway will connect to the Joe Louis Greenway via Livernois, and it'll connect to all the other regional networks through the I-275 trail. So somebody in Southfield could get on their bike within a half a mile to a mile and get on one of our network systems and then be able to connect to the regional system. Some of that money that we received in the last couple of years have gone specifically for making ADA improvements at our bus stops, providing additional respite stations so people have alternative ways of getting to work, to healthcare, to recreation, or to the municipal campus. We've received funding for public art. So all of these projects, part of why we were so successful with the Regional Transit Authority is that we have a history of dedicated history of making improvements over a long time. We have the master planning and the planning documents that support our ask, and people see the results
of what we're doing, and they're willing to give us more money because we have a good track record of implementation.
And won't you be representing Southfield, speaking on this behalf?
Well, this weekend, as I've mentioned before, we're actually hosting 2 mobile workshops at the National Planning Conference. It's in Detroit. We have 5,000 planners coming in from all over the state and the world. And we've been recognized as a leader in redevelopment and our trails in placemaking. So I'm very proud to be hosting those events on behalf of the entire Southfield team and exposing the rest of the world to all the great work that we're doing.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the capital improvement, adopt the capital improvement program, the 5-year for fiscal year 2026-27 through 30-31 with any stipulations.
Support?
31-32.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now transition into our public hearings and site plans. Mr. Planner, item A.
Our first public hearing is PC ZR 26-0001, conditional rezoning, and PSLU 26-002, special use. I'll present them together, but we'll have to have 2 separate public hearings. Petitioner is American Center, LLC. Property is located at 2777 Franklin Road. Existing zoning is Regional Center. Proposed zoning is I-1 Industrial as a conditional zone to rezone 4.87 acres in the southwest corner of the 2777 Franklin property in order to operate a private landscape contractor yard. This is the zoning and future land use. This following special land use shall be allowed with the conditional rezoning. The Zoning Enabling Act allows the applicant to voluntarily offer conditions on the requested rezoning. They've eliminated all of the uses in the I-1 industrial district with the exception of contractor offices with or without an ancillary showroom and storage use, including landscape contractors' office and yards. The use of the land shall be limited to outdoor landscape storage facilities, accessory to landscape contracting. The facility may store landscape materials, equipment, trailers behind screening. No manufacturing, material processing activities shall occur on the site. Retail sales to the general public shall not occur, so this is not open to the public. Outdoor storage shall remain within designated areas. In addition to the proposed conditional use, it would allow for general office space, accessory buildings for any permitted use. All outdoor storage shall be screened. Bulk material shall not be stacked higher than 1 foot below the top of required screening. Junk, waste, debris, and inoperable or unlicensed equipment shall not be stored on site. All existing landscaping at site shall remain and be replaced in kind. Site lighting shall comply with ordinance standards. Access shall be permitted only at driveway locations shown on the site plan, and the project shall use existing stormwater system. Operations shall comply with all city performance standards, maintenance and compliance of the site, and the location shall have at least 100-foot frontage on a public road. So the existing site is currently vacant. It was previously used as a glamping site showroom for a few years as a temporary use. These are examples of what you would see from Center Drive. Existing conditions, so the screening fencing was installed when the glamping use was there, and they also have some decorative gates that control access to the site. This is looking at the site from Franklin parking lot, and then some existing overall site plan issues. The layout will include one maintenance building for repair and operations of their limited vehicles on the site. And this is conceptually what that building would look like. Although we require durable material around the 3 feet or the windowsill of the building required. Landscape plan features, they're proposing additional deciduous and evergreen trees to help with the screening. And with that, I'd like to call the petitioner up to make a few comments prior to the public hearing.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you all.
Shame! Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Out of order. Excuse me, sir.
The police should be coming
Out of
forward.
order. You're out of order. Out of order. Please continue.
Well, as I was saying, thank you all for being here for tonight and for your attention and your time. We do appreciate it. My name is Chris Haboyan. I'm a vice president in Redico, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you about our proposed conditional rezoning, special land use, and site plan for continuum services to relocate to the American Center here in Southfield.
We don't want Redico in Southfield.
Please remove that gentleman. Thank you. Thank you.
We're watching you. We know that you're here and you're being disrespectful more than I am now. You care more about me disrupting this meeting than you do about fascism.
I'll continue while I may. But thank you again. I know I've been in front of everyone here a few times, so I'm not going to belabor all the details we have in our slides, but in the interest of time. But just to refresh everyone, Redico is a national real estate developer, investor, and owner. We were founded right here in 1967 in Southfield, and we've been here ever since. While we are a national presence company, and we have properties, all over Michigan, in Maine, in Florida, Tennessee, as far as Hawaii, we are a locally committed company.
Okay, excuse me. Is there any other outbreaks? Because the next one will be not just removed, but arrested. Please continue, sir.
Thank you, President Hicks. So just to show everybody our local commitment, since just 2024 here in Southfield, we have signed 44 new office leases for over 400,000 square feet. We've invested more than $11.5 million in tenant improvements in our Southfield buildings. And this year, we're spending more than $10 million in scheduled tenant improvements. We're also a proud participant of the CCAB and a lot of what Terry showed you on the screen just a minute ago. We are a well-known developer in the area, and we helped shape a lot of our skyline here, which we're very proud of, whether from Oakland Town Square to the Travelers Towers, the American Center we're talking about here, or other buildings you will recognize around Southfield. I'm here to talk to you tonight about...
Please continue.
So I'm here to tell you tonight about Continuum Services. Continuum is a full-service facilities management company supporting commercial, industrial, and residential properties across the country. It, too, was founded right here in Southfield in 2007. It's a prior winner of Southfield's Best Landscaping Award and Small Business Excellence Award. But today, it's not a small company anymore. It's a company doing over $100 million in annual revenue. It's a company with 2 offices in Detroit and Farmington Hills that they want to consolidate here. It's a company of over 800 team members, of which over 100 are in the office daily. And they serve over 116 locations here just in Southfield, with notable clients including Blue Cross Blue Shield, Clarions Technologies, Lear Corporation, Redico, Huntington National Bank, and Ashley Capital. I've talked to you guys before about the difficulties of the Southfield market, so I just want to go ahead and I'll tell you why this is a tremendous opportunity for the city of Southfield. Our ask is to conditionally rezone about 4.8 acres in the rear of our site to I-1 Industrial. It would be limited to an outdoor landscape storage facility accessory to an office lease. The benefits that this would bring is this is a 10-year lease plus 2 5-year renewal options, which is ready to sign. Southfield would become the home base for more than 800 team members. As I said, 100 of which would be in the office each day, and around another 75 would be parking there. That would be phenomenal for the community. That is great for the L. Georges. That is great for the Starbucks on Telegraph and 11.5 Mile. They need more people. This would be over $1 million project investment into the building's most difficult and long vacant areas. As mentioned, the outdoor storage site was previously used by Sun Communities to construct and store glamping structures. Notably, this also fills over 32,000 square feet of long-term vacant office space in the building's annex. I'll show you in a minute, but the annex is kind of to the side of the building, and it feeds right into the outdoor storage area and just fits hand in glove. We're not asking for any public money, any tax exemptions, and no variances. It's notable that this property is located within Southfield Centropolis Smart Zone, which is promoting entrepreneurial business activities such as this company. This is the perfect location for Continuum to service customers because, as the tagline goes, this really is the center of it all, and it makes all the sense in the world for Continuum. We also think it's very worth noting that the conditional rezoning protects our neighbors because if we breach those conditions, then the zoning can be reverted back to regional center. So as context, I showed you guys before, but this is just context of the broader site. Our site is highlighted in yellow. The red arrows are our traffic flows. The highlights in orange are the city's DPW site, the Oakland County Road Commission site, and the U.S. Army Reserve site. Those are all permitted in our regional center zoning, as industrial is allowed in our zoning. It's just only for a government facility. So what we're proposing, we do not think is incompatible or out of character with what is already in our area. For project details, as mentioned, the site is already enclosed by a 6-foot-high solid metal fence along with trees. As noted, we're proposing to add 21 more to those. All materials will be at least 1 foot below the fencing, which is also in compliance with code. We would be storing about 15 to 20 trucks or trailers that I'll show you in a moment, all of which are within 3 years old. Landscaping materials, which are really on a seasonal basis, such as plants, mulch, salt, and then ancillary equipment. We would construct a building that would be a max of 30 foot high for shop work. We would limit the hours of operation to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday to Saturday. We have required that the storage site be used as an accessory to the office lease. So this is not a site that can be used on its own without being an office user. I mentioned the amount of workers that would be in the building, that we're not requesting any variances, and it's notable that this is a low-impact commercial reuse leveraging existing infrastructure, which really is sustainable redevelopment. As I mentioned, this is a glimpse of Continuum's operations right now. These are the vans, these are the trucks. They're really kind of F-250s, your typical landscape maintenance trailer. It's enclosed, it has professional wrap on it. This is a picture of the fence in the Butler building. And this is a timeline today. We started this process here in November 26th. We met with the Planning Commission. We submitted our site plan back in January, and we've been working with the planning staff to update that and incorporate comments. We presented to the Planning Commission in early February. We postponed that so that we could discuss the project further with our neighbors and our tenants. We came back, presented a Planning Commission. We received a unanimous favorable recommendation, and then I was here last week presenting at the City Council working session. If there's any questions?
Through the chair, I think it would be appropriate to open the public hearing first, and then if there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer that afterwards.
Okay, we will now open the public hearing for PZR 26-001, the request to conditionally rezone 4.87 acres in the southeastern corner of 27777 Franklin
Terry,
Road.
put that picture back up there with the, can you
If you
put
could
the picture back up there showing the rough look of the
If you could
color
please
site?
state your name and your address for the record.
PG, P.O. Box 155, since this is a public hearing and you have to do that. P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I don't know why you changed that picture, Terry, because you can't really see anything like that. I want you to go back to the screen that showed all the vehicles, all the dirt, a picture of the little house that is going to be on the lot, and all the, what look like propane tanks. Now, we had Contour here talking about a dome, another company talking about a
Excuse me,
dome.
ma'am, that's not
And
related to
members of this
item.
council, I'm going to get to it. Don't tell me how to arrive at my point.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Don't tell
This
me
is
to
our
arrive at
meeting.
my point.
Thank
I
you.
know that, and I'm a member of the public.
You're a member-
And the
you're a
citizens
non-resident.
are at the top of the organizational chart. If you want to just continue to take my time, we could do this. We could volley.
No, you run out of your time, you're gonna take your seat.
So you want to keep taking up my time? As I was saying, you were concerned about a mid-century modern look for a dome. Are you concerned about a mid-century modern for this? The trucks need to be covered up, right? Mid-century modern, propane-looking tanks, mid-century modern, the dirt, mid-century modern. And if people are going to be living there, do they want to look at that? I'm all for developing property in Southfield that's been vacant for a while, but remember what Robert Gibbs said. Just because something is zoned for it, you do not have to approve it if it doesn't match the rest of the character in the neighborhood. Now, I want to hear something about mid-century modern. I want that talk to be there. And I'm going to say to Redico, if there's nothing to hide, people want to have a town hall, you got to give the people what they want. And if you give them what they want and answer the questions, this can be over and done with. But when you don't want to do that, it always is a perception that there's something else or something to hide. And I'm going to give you the rest of my time, Councilman Hicks, because you kind of, I don't know if you like obsessed with this whole kind of verbal thing with me, but you really need to stop it.
Please have
Get
a
some
seat.
maturity.
Thank you.
Get some maturity. Stop
No, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to have a comment at this time? Please come to the podium. Please state your name and your address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Council, Mr. Mayor. My name's Ron Reynolds. I spoke with you last week. I'm a land use attorney. My office is at 40900 Woodward Avenue, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I'm going to try to go more quickly through my presentation than I did last week. Importantly, what I want to focus on tonight is the master plan. It was passed in 2022. No mention of contractor yards in the area, what is known as the Centropolis Smart Zone, which is where we're talking about. The petitioner indicated that he felt that it was, that their use was consistent with the Smart Zone master plan, but from the words of it, it is not. Here are the words of the Smart Zone language from the master plan at page 178. Smart zones are state-designated areas that target the attraction of technology-based businesses. Contractor's yard is not a technology-based business. Then in the master plan, it talks about industrial, where industrial should be in the city. And that is at page 162. And it says, while such uses are desirable in terms of tax base and job creation, they must be located appropriately to limit adverse impacts to lower intensity uses. And in the master plan, they limit those to 3 distinct areas off of 8 miles. So that not only in the current zoning ordinance, but in the master plan passed by this community, it has contractor yards designated 8 mile. Our position is that the use is inconsistent with both the RC and the Smart Zone designations. And I think it's apparent because the only way you can do a contractor yard is by pulling in an 8 mile zoning into 11 mile in order to do that. That is not consistent. It's also the uses that are in the I-1 areas besides contractor yards are uses such as self-storage, junkyards, crematoriums, sexually orientated businesses, refuse trucks, dry cleaning facilities. These are the types of uses that this community said contractor yards belong with, basically. They are lumped in with these uses, and they're able to be located on 8 Mile Road with special use permit. Spot zoning. Quickly, the planner has indicated that spot zoning only occurs where you have a 1 acre or less piece of property. I have cited to the city attorney the decision in Robb versus City of Walker. It's Michigan Supreme Court, where they invalidated a 180-acre parcel rezoning as spot zoning. So obviously 180 acres is a lot larger than 4.87. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Reverend Danielle Bolton, 28097 Stewart, Southfield. I am a Southfield resident. I come before council today because Redico has some unanswered questions that the residents of Southfield need answers to. I would encourage our council members to take that into consideration before we approve any new developments with Redico. They cannot be trusted. How do we know that at any point in time, some of that office space will not go to the very thing that we're saying we no longer want in our communities? So I'm asking this council, along with the mayor and anyone else that is involved in this approval process, the people have spoken. I'm asking you to hear the people. Please do not put money and politics over the wishes of the people. They cannot be trusted, and until they make do with current projects that they already have in process, until there has been completion, until there has been transparency to the citizens, nothing new should be considered until they come to the forefront with all transparency. Thank you, and I yield the rest of my time.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Christine Jonah. I'm here to represent my family and American Center Association, American Center Commerce Association. This development, this new development, a landscape yard, we can see it from one of our most beautiful buildings, Magna Electronics. The other day, someone asked me how many people were there, and people are coming back to work quickly. I thought it was only a few hundred. Now it's over 500. It can get up to 900, and that's what this property was built for. So it's an important property to the city of Southfield. It's important property to my family and ourselves. We developed a 60-acre park, which we call American Center Commerce Association. We've got wetlands. We've got a nature walk. We developed all those buildings in there, and never in our history, and we've been in the city of Southfield a very long time too. We started in 1980 developing, and never have we run into a situation where somebody wants to rezone, downgrade a zoning. You've got the Centropolis, the filet of Southfield, and you're going to make it an impossible burger. That's the concern, because if we change it, if it's changed, if this zoning is arbitrarily changed, to put a landscape yard in the center of this property that you've hundreds of acres, 350 acres, what's going to happen next? What precedence is being built right now where somebody can come and say, well, you pulled it out of that zoning and you wanted a landscape yard, so what's the next thing somebody wants? Do they want a junkyard there? What is it, do they want truck storage there? We don't know what's going to happen. If we start here, where does it all end? And I have to say, no one's come to take a look at the view of this beautiful building. The executives, their terraces are going to be looking at a landscape yard. And it talks about equipment. We don't know what kind of equipment. They're buying in bulk here. My sense is, and I can't say for sure, they're buying in bulk, and it's gonna have gravel, it's gonna have salt, and it's gonna have debris, and it's gonna be a mess, and we're gonna be looking at that, and that is not what you desire, and that is certainly not what we desire. And I want to say something. Continuum Services, I believe, is a related entity to Redico. They can still bring their people here. We just don't want all the debris in a landscape yard. We don't want, it looks awful, and everybody's seen a landscape yard. They know what it's like. There's no news there. They showed pictures. I thought, well, these pictures don't look so good. Maybe those pictures shouldn't be shown, because it is not going to be good for anybody, for attracting new businesses to the city. That's how we tout ourselves.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioner Charles, please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Yolanda Smith-Charles. I am a resident of the city of Southfield, 17580 Westland Avenue. And I rise today to echo many of the sentiments shared already. Redico is swimming in money after the Trump regime funneled hundreds of millions of dollars to DHS and CFPB. Of course, they have money to do things. Redico has shown itself not to be a friend of this community. Their board and their bosses knew what the temperature was when Alex Preddy was murdered and when Renee Good was murdered. They had to have known the tenor in this nation, and specifically in this minority-majority community, how it might be interpreted. So Redico has lost my respect and my confidence that they will do anything to be good stewards of the community. And as a resident, I am disappointed that the company overall would allow this to happen at a time like this. It does seem quite suspicious. They would come before this honorable body to ask for rezoning, conditional rezoning, but won't spend an hour or an afternoon with the voters, the people who are going to be directly impacted. So I do understand the gravity of every decision. I know you don't take these decisions lightly. I know they weigh heavy on you. I just respectfully would ask that I would urge you to not agree to this conditional rezoning. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Betty Robinson, 21889 Glenmore, Southfield, Michigan. I'd just like to encourage the board members, since you're the elected officials, you should have a neighborhood block club meeting explaining all this stuff that's being presented to you, because you only have a few people here who are listening, and some don't understand what these people are talking about. But I attended a neighborhood block club meeting the other night, and there was so much questions, so many answers about Leonard, that building there, and nobody can answer it. So these are taxpayers, and I think if council members would attend some of these meetings and explain to the citizens what's going on and how their dollars are being spent, that would be a great help. And especially this particular issue you have here with the SIMCOG issue and this Redico, they know nothing about this. Bring it to the people, because when your term expires, you're going to be asking these same people to vote for you again, and that's a problem. You need to get out and walk the walk and talk the talk to these homeowners, because we elected you, but we don't see you in our neighborhoods at all.
Thank you. Any other comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Greg Keeler, as I said earlier, you are our link. And as Betty just said, we need a town hall. Each time the residents have asked for town halls on various things, this body has not moved on it. This body needs to move on something and have something so the residents can see that you are there for us, or this is truly a broken link if you're going to keep in this same compassion of not having something there. And I know some of you do feel differently about this and do feel towards having something, but a town hall would be nice and just showing something, just a little bit.
Any other comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Elliot Carter, once again, 21631 West 9 Mile. I did not plan on coming up here a second time, so bear with me. But I did want to take this opportunity to remind the City Council that the power that we have given you comes from our votes, and using it to defend, and in this case, to further enrich the millionaires who have invited ICE into our community is not what we gave you that power to do. Our asks are clear, they're reasonable, they are in line with the resolution that you all put out in February. Publicly request a forum with Redico. Make good on your promises and make sure to remember as we speak that other elected officials in Oakland County are facing a recall petition so overwhelming that it crashed the petition site and had to be sent out again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comment? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. The petitioner can come back up to respond to questions. I'm sorry, you going to say something?
I'll wait to the council's done asking questions of the petitioner, but I have a few comments I'd like to make as well.
Questions?
Or did you want to respond to comments that were made during public hearing?
If there are any specific questions, I'm happy to address any of them.
Well, any of the ones that were posed.
Okay. We have
Go backwards.
Sorry. Am I going the wrong way? Trying to get back to my presentation. Nope, here we go. So I will touch on a few of the points that were addressed. Prior comments, we've been through a number of these, but one of the comments that came up is the mitigation of views. We did reach out to the American Center Commerce Association over the weekend, as we have several times before. We did try to come up with a compromise, but really the only one we were offered was to pull our agenda item. But instead of doing that, what we did is we added 4 additional green trees that you can see really in the upper left of the corner, shaded in green in the view mitigation. I also want to address what the views of this. I've previously showed you our existing operations, but I want to show the views of the Magna office building. So the Magna office building is located in the middle. As you'll see, it's approximately 1,100 feet to our site. You'll see the American Center Tower is approximately 640 feet. Barton Mallow is 622 feet. And the Magna building is 570 feet from the U.S. Army Reserve site, which is about 40 plus acres. Barton Mallow, the condo association's insistence originally submitted an opposition letter. After we sat down with them and we showed them our site plan in details, they formally withdrew it. So this is the overhead view. This is a picture of the second floor from the Magna building. You'll see our proposed storage site way in the back. I have not changed this picture at all. This is a normal view. This is the view from the second floor. It's a 4-story building. This is as bad as it gets. This is our 4th floor view of the site. Again, we have, right now the trees don't have the foliage, but in just a couple of weeks, those trees will be full of foliage and really blocking all the view. I think it's also, and then this is the view of the U.S. Army storage site. And they built this building in 2019 looking right at this. We do think that what we're proposing is compatible with the area, and we don't think it's detrimental. And in fact, what is good for the Magna building is good for our building. We want Magna to be here. Magna, and by the way, we're talking about Magna Electronics. Let me go back to this slide. So we're talking about Magna Electronics. It's a 4-story building constructed in 2019. Any insinuation that they're going to leave because of this, according to CoStar, they have almost 8.5 years of lease term remaining. And I find it noteworthy that on CoStar, their building is listed as 50% industrial and 50% office. We have addressed the spot zoning issue. We hired Alan Green, who is somebody we often use in land use across the state. He's the co-author of the treatise, Michigan Zoning, Planning, and Land Use, so he really is the guy who wrote the book. And we've addressed all the legal issues to the city attorney directly. As I noted, today we're proposing to plant an additional 4 trees in key locations to further mitigate their view. And as I've noted before, as a conditional rezoning, if we breach the terms of conditions for our use, the rezoning can be terminated by the city and the property reverts to zoning. I think we've tried to show you that given the DPW, the Road Commission, and the U.S. Army sites around us, given that our existing zoning, regional center, does permit industrial use, just not for us, we do not think that this is incompatible with the surrounding area at all. And we do not think it is a spot zoning issue, especially given there's something called the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act that was created in 2005, and it specifically created conditional rezoning to promote flexibility in land use decisions for the benefit of property owners and municipalities. The opposition brought up the master plan. The regional center district is intended to be a very diverse mixed-use district. It authorizes offices, hospitals, government buildings and utilities, schools, data centers, hotels, multifamily residential, secondary retail. That's a lot of things. The master plan actually refers to regional center as one intended to provide a wide variety of businesses and services to residents, employees, and visitors. And it notes that much of these areas are already developed and that the challenge will be in encouraging redevelopment and consistently requiring site upgrades as development occurs. We think we're doing precisely that. We've come here, we've worked with the city, we have proposed one use on this property, and that's a contractor's yard. We do have to do that because of the way the zoning ordinance is written here, but we do believe that we have every right to do that. Any questions?
Well, Mr. Planner, did you
Yes.
have?
Could I make a few statements?
Yes,
And I'll be
please.
happy to answer. We can try to answer these together. So I did a little deeper dive on our master plan document since our last meeting. The Southfield Centropolis Action Plan was adopted in November 2017, and that covers the area of the Smart Zone. And one of the challenges that it listed in 2017 was the large surface parking lots within that area. Infill development and growth opportunities strategy is to provide for infill development and growth opportunities, including greater mix of uses, including amenities and services. The Centropolis, I'm quoting from the plan, the Centropolis Southfield Smart Zone must evolve to meet the new challenges in the marketplace. Both employers and employees must be flexible and nimble to respond to demands and competition. As such, their facilities must adapt to fulfill evolving, diverse requirements in the workplace. The Michigan Suburban Alliance, which is quoted in the plan, saying most urban areas aggressively seek infill development or new construction on vacant or underutilized land. One of the strategies is to recruit retail and commercial tenants for the infill as a means to attract new uses to the Centropolis Smart Zone. Existing underutilized parking areas may be repurposed for infill development for services. The focus of this infill strategy should be to repurpose the underutilized area in large parking lots between the American Center and other properties. So the Southfield Centropolis specifically addresses this situation. And then I reviewed our master plan, Chapter 10 implementation under economic development goals. is to retain, expand, and attract businesses, to support a more diverse economy and tax base, to cultivate external business relationships, to connect to the regional economy. Objectives include initiate sustainable urban redevelopment strategies, build on reliance of local assets, assist local firms in finding appropriate development sites for expansion. Under the existing and future land use goals, provide an appropriate amount of mixed-use commercial, create a diversified and balanced mix of land uses, regularly evaluate economic and market trends that will establish land use policies and alternatives to be considered. Identify economic sectors that have potential to contribute to the type of economic development being sought. Identify the market prospects facing various real estate development and investment projects, particularly in locations that might be targeted for growth and change. Under the sub-area plan, continue to implement the individual goals and objectives of each sub-area plan, including Centropolis, which I read from previously. Promote development strategies for rehabilitation and repurposing existing structures. And then provide flexibility in the zoning. Identify the market opportunities to site the infill. I say all that's to say that this particular project, because it's a conditional zoning, it's not a straight rezoning to industrial district. If it was, I wouldn't be supportive of it. That the master plan and the Centropolis action plan requires us to be flexible and look at opportunities for redevelopment. With regard to spot zoning, and I've said this before, so in general, a spot zone is a zoning amendment creating a small zone of inconsistent use within a larger zone. It singles out a spot of use that's inconsistent. But for the past 15 years, as one threshold, we have used 1 acre, either less or greater to determine if something is a spot zone. The proposed conditional zoning site measures 4.87 acres. I've cited several references from the master plan that supports the conditional rezoning. The option of the conditional rezoning adopted in 2005 as part of the Zoning Enabling Act was created for this specific instance. By eliminating all other I-1 industrial uses, it eliminates potential negative consequences if this was a straight rezoning. The proposed private contractor office with or without ancillary showroom and storage use, including landscape contractor office and yards, is not open to the public and is a supportive service to the office uses permitted in the RC district. So for all those reasons, I don't think this is incompatible for your consideration. I think there's a lot of safeguards that have been built into the conditional rezoning, and I don't see this as being much different than janitorial service or other related services that go with office complexes. We have the screening, we have our performance standards, we have our hours of operation to help protect that it's not a negative adverse effect on adjacent properties.
Thank you, sir. Madam Attorney, can you please share your opinion?
Yes, good evening, Council. So since this has been brought to my attention in last month, I had received several memos, memorandums of law, also looking at what the Planning Commission had recommended, and then doing my own research with the cases that have been presented from the opposing parties as well as those in support, including the attorney, Mr. Green, that was referenced. So based on that, I did not object to the Planning Commission's recommendation. This, as you can hear from the planner, this was not something done on a whim. It wasn't a random choice. I know there were some discussions about the spot zoning that keeps coming up. But then also prior to 2005, which was brought to my attention by both sides, is that we didn't have conditional rezoning. One of the things about conditional rezoning is the city cannot tell the petitioner what conditions they must have. It has to be the petitioner. So then the petitioner in this matter did eliminate pretty much everything that's allowed in the industrial district. And then it seems also that even though it's an exemption, there are similar uses in the area, so I took that into consideration. And looking at what the initial recommendation was from the Planning Commission, the fact that there were several memos received that were in support, so it wasn't just, again, not an arbitrary and capricious meeting. It wasn't just on the whim. There was a lot of effort put into this, looking at some of the cases where they talk about, well, it was residential and then someone wants to come in and do agriculture. In those cases, there weren't any other compatible uses. This one, again, we have the military storage, and we also have our DPW. The other issue that you may hear is that, you know, does it just benefit the petitioner? But we've heard that by these employees coming to the building that is connected to the storage yard, that they'll be going to the other local businesses, such as the Starbucks, such as the Coney Island. So looking at all of that, I think the main thing that I was looking at, is it reasonable, the request? I have to, you know, not listen to everything else, but was this a reasonable use? And based on everything that I've seen since this came before planning, this wasn't haphazard and it wasn't on a whim. And so for that reason, that is why I supported what Planning Commission had initially said after I did my research.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Attorney. Before we go on to council questions, I do want to make a couple of comments, since several were lifted during public communication. I feel we have to make sure that everyone understands what actions council has had and interactions over the past couple of weeks. As we've heard concerns related to the ICE issue, I've had, as well as a few other council members, a meeting with Redico so that we can talk about some of the concerns that were lifted to us, to understand their position and begin the communication and dialogue. Per that conversation, we then brought back, you know, several things that we've asked of them, and we've also heard from various community groups on what their concerns are, some including, you know, we want answers to questions. So I asked some of those members to provide a list of questions, supplied those to Redico. Redico said, we'll respond to those questions. I also asked them, are they open to continue the communication and have discussions? They also supported that. Everything that I've stated thus far, I shared at a meeting last week with the neighborhood group. I understand, you know, you all are passionate for your cause and you want answers, but I've submitted those questions to be answered. I think that it's important that we talk to each other, not at each other. I would say that no one is being ignored. I think that, you know, in the excitement of getting, you know, resolution to your concerns, we are overlooking what is being said. And what I've heard is there is communication that is being considered and will be held. One of the things that I asked of the neighborhood group was to reach out to Redico directly. Personally, I don't believe you need a city council to share how you feel. You all are doing very well speaking your truths yourselves. I believe that communication on both ends is warranted and needed, and compromise. I don't think that we want to be able to go into anybody and say, you need to do X. I think it has to have some compromise and figure out a plan to move forward. I just wanted to make sure that I've shared to the public what I've also shared to the neighborhood group, also what I shared to Redico, and what the position of council is. Council, did you have any questions on this item?
Can I just add to that?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Council
Mayor.
President? I did contact Redico. I talked to them last week about communicating with the citizens group. And their answer to me was that they have communicated. They have nothing else to share. And so their recent communications have gone unanswered because they've said what they're going to say. So I'm just relaying that message. I certainly can't force for someone to meet with somebody.
Madam Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to say that some of the audience mentioned a letter that the Lathrop Village mayor wrote. Well, we didn't just write a letter, we spoke on your behalf. And I'm sure as soon as they get that letter, they may get the same response that we did. So we are listening to our constituents, our residents, our visitors, and all. We do attend neighborhood meetings when asked, Mrs. Robinson. We can't always go because they do see it sometimes as us politicking. So we have to wait until we are asked to come. But I know every one of us, when we are asked, we show up. There's plenty of meetings that I have attended. But we can't just throw ourselves on it because it will look differently. So when we're asked, we come out. And then on this particular project, the residents in that area was notified of this. And that's what we do on every project. There's a distance that we reach out to impacted residents. So we want to be transparent, but also truthful in all of this. I think it's a given and a understanding that nobody likes the actions of ICE and what they've done in the past. Nobody agrees with that. But as a city, there's just certain things that we have to do that aren't always popular, but it's the right thing to do so that we don't put the city in a predicament where we can get sued, we're liable, or anything. We have got to make the right and fair decisions. This project didn't just come up when ICE came about to this city. They've been in the working for this for years. And we've got to do what's right, what we do for any other developer that comes before us. Now, this particular project, again, we reached out to the residents in that area. We didn't hear anything negative about it. We have our own DPW yard there. We have Oakland County's yard not too far from there. I don't want to label it a swampland, but there's something there. This is the right area. It's one of many right areas for this to be. Please don't take another issue that none of us like, and that's ICE, and then assign it to every project that may come before us, because we have to be fair. We have got to make the tough decisions that some people, it's easy for others to sit on the other side and to point fingers at and all, but we've been transparent, we've been available, we've asked the questions, and just as the mayor of Lathrop Village, they may get the same answer. We've communicated with the residents. So it's not anything that they did that we didn't do ourselves. And some of us met with ReadyCo. Everybody doesn't know that, but we have. We have done our best to deal with this situation that the federal government has put in our city here. And we're trying to do the best for all parties concerned. But we got to ensure that everybody is being fair, being respectful, and we just have to keep going. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes, I would like to go on record to say that I was one of those that were in attendance at that meeting, and it was a very respectful meeting, and I say that word very clear, respectful. And some of the things that have gone on here have not been very respectful. I've always been taught if you want somebody else to talk, you listen and then you talk. Now, some of the things that are happening, I'm a little afraid. You're talking about fear. I'm not afraid to live in Southfield, but if you're going to come to someone's house or almost bombard a person when you're protesting, there was a 75-year-old man that was standing at the door. I saw the video. Nobody told me this. I saw the video where people were trying to trample this man down. That's somebody's grandfather. That's somebody's brother, father. And you know what he said? He said, I can handle him. No, he couldn't. But is that fair? There was somebody's mother, grandmother, with her arms like this, with people bombarding her. At what point do you call that madness instead of protest? You know, if you're a resident or you're not a resident, you just don't do those type of things. We shouldn't even have that here. You can speak your mind and you can speak your piece, but at some point you have to draw the line. You wouldn't want anybody doing that to you, so you shouldn't do that to anyone else. And pointing the fingers is not going to get anything done. We have a business here. We have a responsibility to the business people just like we do the residents. And when you talk about taxpaying dollars, if you got an empty building and nobody's using it, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You got some of the answers there, but you know, you have to have all the stories sometimes. And don't come pointing the fingers at us, you're not doing this. We met with them. We talked with them. This man gave us a packet. And someone said, oh, he put a provision in there. Well, what if he didn't put the provision in there? You all asked for a provision. He said, if, and then. He offered. You know, if you keep coming back, if you ask, is this a zebra, and you come back, it's not going to change. It's still a zebra. And if some of you act like this, I wouldn't want to meet with you. I wouldn't. You know, because some people, you just aren't nice and you just aren't respectful. And that can be scary. And with what's going on, you're talking about ICE. Some people are showing up at people's houses and doing things in the name of justice. No, it's not. There are two sides to every story. And sometimes you come up here and you all are not telling the whole story. And I've been quiet about this, and this is not about being elected. This is not about being paid. We're not paid for nobody here with this situation. We care about this city. All of us up here care about this city. We are doing our best. We are not perfect. But we don't expect you all to come here and disrespect us, or disrespect these business people like this with your loudness and all of this. You're scaring these people just like you scare me sometimes. I got to wonder if I'm going to walk out the door and somebody's going to follow me like I've been followed before. That's not the way to do business. And if we're going to have a community meeting, come to these meetings. Go online and see some of the information. And please invite us to your resident meetings and have organizational meetings or coffees where we can talk about this. Be civil. Be civil in all respect where we can get the answers and stop fighting us. You can come with us. I don't have a problem with you disagreeing with me or even not liking me, but there's a respect matter that needs to continue to take place in here. And some of it is crossing the line, and some of you are regulars that do it. Just, I don't know if you don't have anything else to do, but it's ugly. And when you send that message out here to other people, it comes back here with that, oh, we can do this to our city. And it doesn't look good. I have no problem meeting with anyone, but I will not be disrespected, and you all should disrespect these businesses and people like this. You don't have to agree, you don't have to like it. Write letters. Get a group together. But the young man was on the floor meeting with your company. Didn't he come to your company? He was shown there. What did he come back and bring you all? He showed them the whole place. You know, I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I'm tired of just not saying this. He was on the floor seeing everything. What more is there to see? We have to trust him. If they don't do right, he put the provision in there. What else is there to do? Thank you.
Councilwoman Bland, then Bradwell.
A few weeks ago, Councilwoman Banks asked about the senior community, Brookdale. Have you spoken with them? I know a letter went out, but have you spoken with them? Because her concern was, what would they see? What about the pollen that's going to fly? Because this is a landscape yard. I'm not going to compare this to DPW. We need the Department of Public Works, and our military is our military. But I would like to know if you spoke with anyone from Brookdale and spoke to those seniors specifically about any concerns they may have about moving into there with an industrial site.
We did speak with the leadership of Brookdale. They had no problem at all. In fact, they thought it would be an upgrade to the view that they have right now.
Thank you for that.
Councilman Brightwell.
Terry, I heard you use the term competitive. I just wanted to straighten that. What did the Planning Commission recommend?
They unanimously recommend approval of the conditional rezoning.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
They unanimously recommended approval of the conditional rezoning and the special land use.
Okay.
Can I ask another question? Can you please tell me why Barton changed their mind from a no to a yes?
They completely misunderstood. The condo association had reached out to them and told them we were going to have a junkyard there and things like that. And we showed them, I personally sent them our site plan that you guys have today. We sat down and talked with them, and they were very glad to formally in writing withdraw their opposition.
And how close are they to you all?
Well, I mean, we don't do a lot of work with them, but they're almost half as close as the Magna building to our site.
So there would be neighbors?
Yes, they're right there, 622 feet Magna's closer to 1,100 feet.
And what type of company is Barton?
They're a construction company, general
What-
contractor.
One of the top companies?
Yes, they're very, very large, very, very successful, very proud, locally based company.
And thank you.
Council? Councilwoman Banks?
Mr. Crow, do we receive any letters from, example, Barton Mallow, Brookdale,
Well,
in support of any of this
I
project?
believe, well, everything's in your packet, but I believe there was one resident that, from Brookdale, that submitted a letter and objection, but we did not receive any other letters other than the ones that were referred to, one way or the other.
Just a note, I mentioned it in my presentation earlier, but we do have letters of support from the building's two biggest tenants, Sun Communities and the Taft Law Firm, as well as Cushman and Wakefield and Village Green, which is a nearby corporate headquartered company and the largest residential manager in our communities, including just about right next door to this property.
Mr. Chair?
Sir?
I'd like to move approval of PCZR 26-0001.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Mandelbaum and supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag. Any additional questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Yeah, I think we may need a roll call.
Roll call vote on this motion. Councilwoman Banks.
No.
Councilwoman Bland.
No.
Councilman Brightwell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hoag.
Yes.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes.
Council President Hicks.
Yes.
Sir, the yeas have it, 5-2.
Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I'd like
Yes.
to introduce ordinance number 1834.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag, to introduce ordinance number 1834. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote. Councilwoman Banks.
No.
Councilwoman Bland.
No.
Councilman Brightwell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pro Tem Hoag.
Yes.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes.
Council President Hicks.
Yes.
Sir, the yeas have it, 5-2.
Motion carried. We're going to open a public hearing for PSLU 26-002, special use request to operate landscape court contractor yard in the southeastern corner of parcel at 27777 Franklin Road, Southfield, Michigan. If you have a comment, please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Honorable Council, Mr. Mayor, my name is Ron Reynolds, 40900 Woodward Avenue, Bloomfield Hills. This special land use request is more troubling because it is contrary to your ordinance. The request being made, the ordinance provision under I-1 indicates that the following special land uses only shall be allowed on properties with at least 100-foot wide frontage on West 8 Mile Road. And then it proceeds to say contractor offices with or without ancillary showroom, et cetera. So that's the only spot in your ordinance where you get a yard, and it has to be by a special land use, and the language of the ordinance literally says it must have 100-foot frontage on 8 Mile, West 8 Mile, and the obvious reason for that is because the authors of this ordinance made a decision that these uses belong on 8 Mile. There's just no other way to read your ordinance. And I would also say that I'm not aware of any discretion that this body has to waive that requirement. And in fact, in the Whitman case, which I had cited in my memorandum, the property owner there argued that the municipality did just that. The municipality decided that it would not follow express language in its ordinance. And the court said the municipality does not have the discretion to do that. They have to follow their ordinance. That's the purpose of the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, is to empower communities to zone, but they have to zone within the rules, basically. So that is our argument there, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I'm used to talking to judges, obviously. And I did want to say that, ironically, I know Mr. Green. I know him fairly well. He's an excellent lawyer. I refer to the book. He's one of 4 authors of it. And in his book, he's got a chapter on spot zoning, which I also cited to those cases that he has in that section in my memorandum. So I just thought you'd be interested in that. And I would be very curious whether Mr. Green has cited any authority that allows this honorable body to not follow its own ordinance. Thank you.
Please state your name, your legal name, and...
I didn't get the question answered about the mid-century modern. I was wondering if you had forgotten about that. Now I will say my name. PG, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037-0155. There was so much talk about the master plan and mid-century modern. I'm going to ask this council, is there anything mid-century modern about this really big project? Now, I don't want you to answer it right now. Just want you to kind of let it sit there and marinate. And if it's not anything that's mid-century modern, why isn't there talk about it for this particular project? I agree with the attorney that was up here. It's just, Robert Gibbs said, you are not obligated to approve something if it doesn't match the character of the neighborhood or of that particular area. So what are you going to do by rubber stamping this? And then all of a sudden, the other more established companies decide to leave, and you've got more vacant property. Is this something that you can be proud of? I mean, I know a lot of you up there are new, and maybe you don't understand. You might want to reach out to Robert Gibbs. And you got to be careful. I was at a Farmington Hills Council meeting, and the city attorney was talking about the Open Meetings Act. And what he said, he almost made me fall out the chair. It was so clear and concise. And he warned the council members that if you are sending email to each other, and 4 of you are deliberating or answering or tossing your opinion around, you could be legally violating the Open Meetings Act. So you might want to be careful. I thought it was a great presentation. I'm going to go to all the cities that I normally frequent and say something about that.
Thank you very much.
But I think that this particular council should not rubber stamp this. I'm not yielding my time. I have 13 seconds. And I just want to ask you the question again. What is mid-century modern about this particular project? Now my time is up. Thank you.
Any other comment?
Good evening.
Morning again, honorable body. Yolanda Smith Charles, 17580 Westland Avenue, Southfield, Michigan, 48075. I'm before you with regards to the planned use for 27777 Franklin Road. Germane to the reason we're all here, I would just say I'm tired of Southfield being a dumping ground, landscape yard, whatever you want to call it. I think that our planning department, while I fully respect Mr. Crode, I fully respect the residents who are on the planning commission, I just don't see the creativity, the ingenuity, the gravity of the situation. Southfield should not be a dumping ground. It should also not be a place where we have, overwhelming amount of thrifty stores. I want us to have what other communities have, and if without planning, people will come and bring us anything. So I just want to draw your attention to the portion of your resolution here, item number 7. This approval is based on documents, facts, representations, and stipulations submitted with the application. Of course it is. So again, I wouldn't just lean on what was presented, submitted, and represented in terms of the stipulations. I don't work over there. I don't drive by this area much. I think Oakland County has been a good steward of their DPW yard, but that doesn't mean it needs to be proliferated with mounds of dirt and industrial infrastructure. So again, I encourage you to do better as it relates to the vision of the community. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, please.
There's a big concern.
I'm sorry,
as
please state your name and your
Christine
address.
Jonah, American Commerce Center Association. Sitting here and listening to all the people worried about their zoning and about their homes, and you bring in a negative, something negative in, and the impact that it's going to have on their homes. I understand that completely. I understand their neighborhoods. They want to protect their neighborhoods. This is our neighborhood. It's a degradation, no matter which way you look at it. This was set up for enterprise, bringing in other businesses. They did not envision a landscape yard. Nobody would have. I couldn't even imagine such a thing. It was so surprising to me. I was distraught. I said, it's perplexing to even get to this point, to think that this would be entertained. Propane tanks, looks like cabins out there. There's going to be mounds of dirt. Even the trees in the wall. They're doing landscaping. They should have trees, they should have suggested trees that are 20 feet tall. It should be totally covered. That was never part of the suggestion. Not only was this plopped down in the middle of all these beautiful buildings, and I don't know what the other people are thinking, but we've been around this business a very long time. We're developers. We watch what we do when we bring things into the community. We don't decide to just plop something arbitrarily because somebody says it's going to bring business. That business could be very temporary. Tenants move out, they look at the area, they Google it, they say, what is this? This is not a centropolis. This has been polluted somehow. And that's not what Southfield needs to be. Southfield needs to be tight and picking up their game to attract new people here. We have that potential. I don't see this. I think this is out of fear that we're going to bring this many people. They're going to bring 100 people into the office space. That's small in relationship. All the area, 350 acres. That is not going to solve it. What we have to do is be first-class area. This is not a first-class area at all. And we do this now, and I am worried as time goes on, the next person comes in and wants a special use, like all those prohibited uses that we talked about, and where this was plucked out from is kind of shocking in and of itself, along with junkyards and strip clubs and everything else. They wanted these things put in a separate spot, not into the best section of the city. I am just trying to figure out why this is being entertained. I would never, when we go in as Jonah, we don't ask to totally change the texture of the neighborhood. It's a matter of integrity and what's doing right. I'm not saying Radico's doesn't have integrity. I'm just telling you how the Jonah family
Thank you,
feels
ma'am.
when we go in.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other comment? Public hearing is now closed. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval of PSLU 26-0002, the special use request at 27777 Franklin Road.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag. Any additional question or discussion? Hearing none, please call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Let's do a roll call.
Roll call vote. Councilwoman Banks,
No.
Councilwoman Bland,
No.
Councilman Brightwell,
He needed to step out for 1 second.
okay, just gonna move on. Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pro Tem Hoag,
Yes.
Councilman Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Council President Hicks.
Yes. Motion carried. Moving on to the ordinances section.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we enact ordinance number 1832.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag. Any discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'd like to move that we enact ordinance number 1833.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag. Any question or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Councilwoman Banks, anything for this evening?
Can you come back to me, please, so I can look it up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Councilwoman Bland, anything this evening?
Just a reminder that Wednesday is Earth Day. I know this weekend, a lot of neighborhood associations, different schools, I believe our own wildlife commission, they're all going to be holding events to help clean up the area. So if anyone is interested in getting involved, I believe that our community relations director has some things posted on our website, but also go to the Southfield Public Schools website and different neighborhood and housing association organizations as well. So happy Earth Day, everyone.
Council President Pro Tem,
Nothing, Mr. President.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes, so Councilwoman Bland just touched on it. So Wednesday's Earth Day, there will be from 4 to 6 at Carpenter Lake. They're going to have a free Earth Day celebration with a lot of different activities for everyone of all ages, and feel free to partake in that. Also, next week, Sunday, is our Touch a Truck event. And I'm trying to find the information. Here it is. On this coming Sunday, April 26th, from 1 to 4 is Touch a Truck, where the entire parking lot will be taken up by many, many different trucks from all over. And they will have, that's from 1 to 4, but from 1 to 2, there will be a sensory sensitive hour where there will be no horns or flashing lights or anything else. Another free event. You can climb, you can explore and discover your favorite trucks from up close. It's always a fun event. Other than that, hopefully everyone's enjoying the soon-to-be warm weather, or the warm weather that comes and goes. But also please note that Southfield did start collecting yard waste already, so you can put out your branches and start cleaning up your yard. Thank you.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes, just recently I attended the hat tea that the Parks and Recs Department put on, and it was such a nice event. Just want to give a huge shout out to the employees there. It was a very nice event, very well attended, sold out tickets as well, and also to the to Kim and staff also for the opening day event that was held. It's nice to have city events that people can just come and just enjoy themselves without having to do work and just learn, just meet and talk with each other. So just congratulations to both of those departments. And a huge, huge congratulations to the Southfield Police Department, to Chief Barron, to Detective Weeks, Lieutenant Womble for solving that cold case. I'm sure some of you have seen that. That was amazing. And it's so important that we have new technology, that they were able to solve a case that happened in 1997. And special condolences to the Daniel family. The family was represented there as well. I just think it's important that we continue to support our police department and give them the things that they need to solve things like this. And I think they were even talking about hopefully introducing a cold case department, which I would be in full support of. And just having to say that is just to show that we talk about safety. This is a safe city because of our Southfield Police Department, and I will say that. And I can walk down the street and feel safe and be in my neighborhood and be safe because I know that we have people that have given up and taken their time dedicated to serving on the Southfield Police Department. I'm thankful for that, and also to our fire department for the same thing. So thank you again to Chief Barron and his staff and all those involved with that situation.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks.
Thank you. On Wednesday, April 29th, Encore will hold an older adult service Empower Hour. It will be held at Southfield Parks and Recreation from 11 a.m. to noon. The focus on this town hall meeting will be on the various online scams targeting older residents, as well as tech security, transient for older adults, health and safety. Again, that's April 29th, which is a Wednesday, Southfield Parks and Recreation in the pavilion, 11 a.m. to noon. Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell.
This is, I gave this a lot of thought. And as a veteran, I've been advocating for veterans since I've been on council. And I chaired the Veterans Commission since its inception for about 10 years. But what is driving these comments are the fact that our nation now is in conflict, in or war, whatever term you want to call it. And we're being guided by a draft order. We also are being guided by a gentleman who several years ago was speaking to a general in Normandy. That general happened to have lost a son in a war, and the person who's leading our world today asked, those people who are buried at Normandy, were they suckers or were they losers? And it's very disheartening for a veteran to have a leader who want to just utilize our military today as some type of tool. And one of the things that I mentioned to some of my friends that I just hope our leader today never got us into a war. And this is where we are right today. They are using our military as some type of tool for their self gratification. And I just can't wait for another Bob Woodward book to come out to let us know what's going on in the background. As this gentleman is looking at pictures of things being blown up. America has the best military in the world, and this is the home of the free because it's the home of the brave. And that's all I want to say. But this kind of, I've been a veteran, and although I was not in a combat unit, I was at Fort Bragg. I was in a specialized unit that made sure all the combat troops got to where they needed to get. I had the appropriate security clearance to deal with everything I needed to deal with. So it's just disturbing that, and obviously I got to know some people who were hurt and are damaged or injured in the military. But I was not a combat, but I supported the combat troops. And everybody in the military, one way or another, support combat troops. So, and that is not anything I want to get off my chest, but it's just that I want to just let the world know that we are. Well, anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we are, a reminder that we are celebrating Arbor Day this Friday at 11 o'clock at the Thompson Farm down the street, where we will be planting several trees. Also speaking about the earth, Southfield joined with the 8 Mile Boulevard Association last week and did 8 Mile Boulevard litter pickup from Evergreen Road to Greenfield. I want to give a shout out to the students at University High School that came out in the rain, and we worked despite off and on showers on Saturday for 3 hours. We also had several of the Ladies of Distinction, a local volunteer group that has always helped with the big rake. And two of the people that were here tonight, Robert John Cox, who always volunteers, was here, and Devin Hampton. Got a lot of debris cleaned up along the Southfield side of 8 Mile.
Mr. Administrator?
I have no comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Yes, good evening, council. I have 2 items. The first item is something that came before the council on March 9th as your committee of the whole. Not the gentleman that came during public comment. This is in regards to, there's a 40-year-old office building, and it's at Telegraph in Woodland. I believe it was in 1984. There was a lawsuit, and the consent judgment was, even though it's residential, the parties were allowed to build this 2-story office building, but it is falling apart right now, so they would like to zone it, I believe it's B3, general business.
Correct.
Because it wouldn't go back to the residential. So they want to be able to have some future uses, future development for it, whether it's a bank or they could get a special land use for, I think it's for the restaurant, or if it was a drive-through, you need the special land use. So we had discussed this on March 9th at the committee of the whole. They prepared the vacation of the consent judgment so that they can further develop this, because I'm not sure if the building would be able to last much longer.
Correct.
So that is my ask for this evening, but Mr. I say your last name wrong. Is here to present. He came at public comment, but he's under my section, so I'll let him present the rest of the information.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Basically, this is the building north of 12 miles, the first office building north of the dealerships. And the consent judgment was entered, of course, prior to the ownership of my client. And in order to ask for a change of zoning from the residential, I was advised by the city attorney that the consent judgment has to be vacated first, and that's what we're here for today. And I would ask that that will be looked at and approved so we can apply for the rezoning after that.
Council, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What does a consent judgment state? I mean, I don't recall seeing it in our packet.
I can summarize it if you want. I mean, basically, it allowed them to build an office building on a residential zone property.
And that was the only condition in the whole consent judgment?
Correct. And the building was built, so the office building was built, it's there right now, but the zoning of the land underneath is still residential.
And by tearing it down, what do you propose to build there?
Probably another office building or some approved use that this council will, of course, we're going to be coming in front of you again, and whatever this council will approve, zoning and restrictions. But the first step has to be to vacate the consent judgment that was entered previously.
And the consent judgment was to allow that two-story office building that's still there right now. And that's the only thing it can be used for, because when the litigation was brought back in 1984, that's what they wanted. So, oh, is that the picture right there? Thank you, Terry. So they were allowed to do that, but now, you know, that's the only thing they can put there, and they want to be able to vacate that. So should they want to put a one-story bank, for example, they'll be able to do that if it's zoned for B3, because underneath it would be zoned for residential, but you really can't put a residential building in that place.
So then you'll have to come back to have it rezoned?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay. And I just wanted to confirm that was the
Okay.
only condition
Yes.
on the consent judgment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could just add, by eliminating the consent judgment, it resorts back to the residential, and they would need a rezoning to do anything else.
Any other questions, council?
Yeah, I think, was this the one that was here in March, on the March 9th? Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And Terry, I mean, not Terry, Tom was there, so thank you.
Okay.
So we brought the picture.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the,
Vacate.
I move that we approve the agreement to vacate the 1984 consent judgment at property located at 29500 Telegraph Road to be signed by the mayor, the clerk, and our attorney.
Support.
As reviewed by our attorney.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any additional question or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, council. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And then the next item, we discussed the point of sale ordinance. We discussed that at your April 13th Committee of the Whole. And after that, there's a consensus then to bring this to this regular meeting today. And I am looking for introduction and approval so that we can present an ordinance to adopt this ordinance. Like I said at the meeting last week, had been discussed previously for the last few years. I don't know if the building official is still here, but one of the things that we always talked about was preserving the housing stock and just making sure there's public health and safety. There were some concerns in terms of how far this would go, but this is really to just protect someone when they move into the home. Not only are there disclosures, but the inspection that the city would perform would make sure that things are up to code. They would get their certificate of occupancy. And when it's a new home and they want to sell it, it's good for 1 year. And then after that year, if something happens to the sale, they would have to renew it. Of course, you know, there's other types of property, but once it becomes a sale, we want that inspection so we don't find out something later, some type of violation from the building code, some kind of safety issue. This is a way to preserve the homes, the residential homes in the city.
Council, any questions?
Mr. President?
Ma'am?
I move that we approve the point of sale ordinance as was presented.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any additional discussion or question?
Did we not say we were going to get this out to make sure that people knew about this? Because I think this is real important to, even to realtors.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
Mr. President,
Ma'am?
I move that we introduce ordinance number 1835.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried.
thank you, council. That's it for me.
Mr. Clerk. Correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk.
Okay.
Did you have anything for this evening, sir?
I don't have anything to add.
Mr. Planner, anything?
I don't have anything to add, thank you.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
I move that we go into closed session as presented, as allowed under the Opens Meeting Act to discuss employee matters.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any discussion or question? Mr. Clerk, if you can do a roll call, please.
Roll call vote. Councilwoman Banks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bland.
Yes.
Councilman Brightwell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pro Tem Hoag.
Yes.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes.
Council President Hicks.
Yes.
We're now in closed session.
Good night, everyone.